got one of those big shiny things with a lot of tubes and curly coils coming out of it, with a red doohickey and... Vin, he's got one of those fancy thingamajiggers.
That's the real deal. But it's not the car you drive. It's the driver who's driving the car that's doing the driving.
Hey, fun fans. It is a special edition of We Enjoy where I've just basically compiled all of our old recaps of the Fast and Furious franchise. And that's from 2001's The Fast and the Furious all the way up through 2019's Fast and Furious Presents, Hobbs and Shaw. And so I ideally I would have gotten this done sooner. So that you would have had time for those of you going back before F9 to rewatch the entire franchise and sort of follow along with our recaps. But I've had a week and I've been doing a lot of different things, and I actually haven't been online that much either. So this is the way it's going to be. And you could still, like maybe not everyone's seeing F9 this weekend. Spoiler, they are. But you could still go back and listen to us yap about it. Yeah, and Eric was reminding me, because when I was going back and finding these, that we did double up on some.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these were this is the first series we did any recap of on We Enjoy Wrestling, specifically because Hobbs and Shaw was coming up, and we were like, "Hey, Dwayne Johnson was a wrestler. Let's talk about that." That was an excuse.
Yeah. Yes. So at this point on We Enjoy Wrestling, we felt like to do a franchise just for fun, for our sake. It needed to have a wrestling connection because, that was the brand of the podcast. But also, Eric was absolutely horrified to learn that I had only seen probably 1.25 of these movies, being the first one and I think a little bit of the second one. I think the end of the second one.
As we record this, it's the day after the 20th anniversary of the first movie, and I just can't imagine the world where you still had not seen almost any of this series as we celebrate.
I know, the difference between me then and me now is completely different.
That's right.
Up is down, black is white, we're through the looking glass, and so that is the entire Fast and Furious franchise, including the spinoff. Just in time, for F9? Not really, but anyway, they're all smushed together. If I can muster up enough energy, I will put the time codes down like I did for Saw so that you can skip around. And it's not pretty. There's weird commercial breaks still intermixed from the old podcast because I literally just plucked these out of the old episodes and blended them together for your enjoyment. And I hope you get some benefit out of this.
You'll get a lot of benefit out of it. And look for we'll do a special one-off for Fast 9, of course, as well.
We'll do that, yeah. We'll try to see it. Well, we will see it this weekend, and we'll do one next week. And I don't know when that'll drop, though, but keep your eyes peeled for it. And, as always, this goes without saying. I cannot stress this enough. Live your life a quarter mile at a time.
Please do so.
That's the history of astrophysics.
I just think that as I think I established last week, everyone in the universe has seen this entire franchise except me.
Right.
So they
Joey Esposito, our friend and former IGN coworker Joey Esposito, had not until the 8th one came out, and we did screenings at my house. We did over 2 weekends. We watched all the previous 7. But I caught him up 2 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know how you want to run this down necessarily. I don't know if I want to go like front to back with each of these movies. I listen to occasionally, every once in a while. I think you listen to it way more than I do. I know April listens to How Did This Get Made? And I know How Did This Get Made has a tradition of doing these movies with Adam Scott.
Yes.
And so I know you've listened to people break down these movies before, so I don't know how you want to go about breaking them down, if we want to, how did this get made or if I just want to read through my notes and pull out like what struck me.
Now here's a couple. Here's a funny couple things about that. So I love how
We could have talked about this before the podcast, by the way.
Yeah, I love how this get made, and let's do it all the time. I actually don't think I've listened to any of the episodes yet about Fast and Furious, but there are some things how this get made do that I will inevitably do as well, including I looked up the box office of these movies because I think that's as we get through the series, it's just fascinating to sort of chart both the storylines, the characters, and its trajectory. Its unusual trajectory when it comes to box office. But this week, especially because we're talking about 2 movies this week, I think we can be a little looser anyway. So you'd seen the first one when it first came out, right?
I don't think I saw it in the theater, but thereabouts.
Okay.
I either got it from Hollywood Video on Blu-ray or I caught it on cable. I don't know what it was, but I'm sure people have pointed this out, but we can at the top. First of all, none of this is safe. We already talked about this. Second of all, this is Point Break.
It's Point Break. The first movie is 100% Point Break.
Okay, I don't know how many think pieces got written about it at the time.
When it came out, people were like,
good, because I was watching this because what struck me is like these movies feel super violent, but there's not a lot of murder or death, or people don't get killed all that much. At least in these first 2. Even in the second one, the villain just gets shot in the shoulder. Like, no, it's all about heists, and even in, because they're not bank robbers, the way of Dom Toretto and his crew, like, actually, like, of redeeming them, of making them not pure villains, is that they're stealing goods that are already stolen. Right? So they're stealing from thieves. They're stealing from the real bad guys. Mm-hmm. And that's why last week when I brought up the real villain of the first movie is the faceless trucker who's shooting a shotgun at them at the end because they didn't, this is the evil guy protecting his stolen goods from the thieves. Right. Because it's not like, oh, this trucker is literally projecting his livelihood because he's an honest, hardworking trucker and he doesn't want these thieves to take his stuff. No, he's a bad guy hauling hot merchandise.
Right.
All the rice cookers and I don't know what the electronics are in the back, but like,
and definitely screwing up his truck in the process because he's just shooting through his truck a bunch. Yeah, but I guess it was going to get screwed up either way.
I do like that we never saw his face and that he lived and he's still out there.
Right.
I assuming it's Idris Elba, and that's why he's in Hobbs and Shaw.
It's funny, because like you said, it's like he doesn't. There's no way do they define this guy as like a named character. And so it's just funny that he becomes like a Terminator / like Spielberg's Duel.
He's not even someone to defeat. He's somebody to escape. Right.
You have to get away from him. He like nearly takes out the entire Fast and Furious crew.
I know. Yeah. And and one of the things that is interesting, huge time capsule, this movie, with the belly shirts and the low-waisted jeans and the tribal tats and the everything sounding like Crazy Town's Butterfly, the music, and just a really solid new metal like biodome that this movie encapsulates. And I think that I like the fact that I think the first one is a solid movie, a solid B movie. Yes. I like the fact that he's a cop, but we don't see, not till 20 minutes into the movie or more does he actually... He doesn't even go to a precinct. He goes to, their safe house with Ted Levine is there. Buffalo Bill. And so, we know that, and then... So, I think it works well. I think, obviously it's... The movie's only surface deep. It's not like... a tour de force cinema, but it's a solid B movie. I was mostly surprised by Dom Toretto's proclamation that he will die before he goes back to prison because he spent 2 years in Lompoc. It feels like he needed to spend more. Right. For I will die before I go back. He spent 2 years, which I think in movie terms is not that much.
Yeah.
If you consider the fact that I also just watched last week Fighting with My Family, and the father spent 8 years in prison before he was 25 and didn't have that. So I'm dying before I go back to prison. And he's based on a real person.
Yes.
But Dominic Toretto is they have to gun me down in the streets.
Right. We should say, by the way, though, you're right. I mean, in the scheme of things, a lot more people should die in these movies just from the street racing alone. But you know, they do lose poor Jesse. Jesse, their computer expert.
Okay, but did he die at the end?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure because he got shot and they went to tend to him, but I didn't know if he died or not because we didn't get any follow up.
I guess. Spoiler that we never see him again. I mean,
yeah, but we never see Jordana Brewster again either. She could have fallen off a cliff.
Right.
If that's our,
I believe we're supposed to think Jesse dies, and then of course the main villains, Tran. Isn't that Johnny Tran, Rick Yoon's character? Him and his like right hand man get killed.
Well, Rick Yoon had a big Rick Yoon-essence back then because he was in that movie and he was in Die Another Day.
Yes.
Then the last thing I saw him in was Marco Polo, the final season.
Oh, okay.
But I was one of 3 people, including Benedict Wong, who watched Marco Polo.
Right.
Benedict Wong was the other 2 people, and I was the third.
Yes.
I talked to Benedict about Marco Polo at a Comic-Con party. And
you did.
It was really cool because I enjoyed that show for the most part more than other people, and I liked him. He was the best part of that show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to him about it, and he was like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. You look at Metacritic, you look at all these things, and it's like a 6 and a this. He's like, I don't know. He's like, I think it's really good, and I don't know why people don't give it, you know. I felt bad for him, but it was just like we were talking literally about the bad reviews for the show.
Right.
And I got to tell him how much I enjoyed him. And then I got to hang out with Mads Mikkelsen for a second because he and Caecilius, what was his villain's name in Doctor Strange?
I never noticed. I think it's something like that.
But they were fast friends all during Comic-Con. You couldn't separate the Mikkelsen and the Wong.
That's right. I got a picture of the 3 of you together.
Yeah. It's good times.
You're like, yeah, as you look across the room at this giant blowed up version of it on the wall.
I know that when I put it on Twitter years ago, the Mikkelsen Twitter was all aflutter because he had like the top 2 buttons of his shirt unbuttoned. Mm. And he had a cigarette. He was holding, they were both smoking, but they had a cigarette off camera. But I don't know if they would have liked that or if that would have made him hotter. I don't know how cigarettes are taken these days.
Mostly negatively.
Negatively, but I don't know. I feel like with someone like Maz, if you're from Europe, I think it's sure. You get a pass.
There's a caveat there.
Back to Fast and Furious. Fast and Furious. I just wanted to say before you go on because I want to talk about 2 a little more than 1, which is that I laughed out loud. I LOL'd when he said that the big race out in the desert was called Race Wars.
Yeah,
and I was like. It's like, does anyone want to workshop that title a little more? Like, I feel like there are other things you could have called that besides Race Wars, unless that was the point. Like it was like a weird wink.
I don't think it was, but yeah, the first movie, it works for what it is. 100%. It is. Again, to think about how huge the franchise has gotten, it is just funny to think that it began as just a complete plot ripoff of Point Break, Rob Cohen directing it is funny because Rob Cohen was always kind of like, you know, he's kind of one of those guys like Peter Hyams who just like directed movies and some of them were successful and some weren't. Not a lot because he didn't have a lot of like personality to his direction. He directed Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, Dragonheart, and The Skulls, him and Paul Walker's first movie together. But this, and I think after this he did the third Mummy movie. But like this was kind of his peak. I have no idea behind the scenes, you know, why he wasn't asked back. But maybe they felt like, well, this was a success, but we could do more with this.
I feel like you're besmirching Peter Hyams a little bit because he directed Van Damme's best 2 movies, which are Time Cop and Sudden Death, back to back.
He did. I was just discussing those movies because them along with Hard Target, those are my 3 favorite Van Damme movies. And then also it's funny to look back because I would say, yes, Vin Diesel and Paul Walker are kind of co-billed as the leads in this movie. Like they get their names up together. But if you had to say the protagonist of this movie, it's Brian, right? It's like, I think he has more screen time. It's like we're going into this world through his eyes.
Yeah, well, we rarely see Dom by himself. Like there's a moment where he's making out with Michelle Rodriguez. And then there's like, because we see Brian by himself all the time because he's the one who has to be fooled by the red herrings and
they're like going on the mission that they're worried about. But Brian gets a lot more solo time in the movie. So it's just interesting that Dom, especially when the series began, it just didn't, it's not like Dom's story. He is an important part of it, but because he's the Patrick Swayze character,
he's the Bodhi.
Yeah, he is the Bodhi,
and
our hero will see sort of a reflection of himself in and have a connection to.
Brian's the Johnny Utah, and who was a former football player turned FBI agent who has a bum knee.
Right. But now we can pivot into still amazingly titled Too Fast, Too Furious. First of all, and this series getting clever with their titles, and which will become a hallmark. But I don't think they've ever outdone Too Fast, Too Furious.
They've never gotten more clever than that. I feel like that was the watermark, and everything's rolled back. I feel like the tides rolled back from Too Fast, Too Furious, and now they.
Well, because Fate of the Furious did do the thing where there was sometimes it would just say F8, so Fate. But they should have made that the full title, like F8, The Fate of the Furious. I thought they would, but they didn't. But Too Fast, Too Furious is, that's their title peak.
Directed by John Singleton, rest in peace. Just lost him a few weeks ago. Did not remember or even know in the first place. I don't know if I knew he directed this.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Also,
Singleton's funny because Singleton, if you look back at his IMDb, he didn't direct that many movies is the thing. And so the 90s, he obviously had this huge breakout with Boys in the Hood, and he had Poetic Justice, but then I think Higher Learning and Rosewood had kind of come and gone, and he done Shaft.
Speaking of Hard Target, didn't Singleton direct Surviving the Game, the other rich people stalk a homeless man movie?
No, he didn't direct that.
Are you sure?
Was it
Ernest Dickerson?
It's Ernest Dickerson.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But didn't Ernest Dickerson start as Singleton's DP?
Nope, he started Spike Lee's DP.
Ah, damn it. I'm getting my black cinema all mixed up.
You are.
But yeah, the interesting thing about Hard Target is that it's super stylized because it's John Woo and Van Damme as the homeless drifter who's targeted hardly is like a master fighter, obviously. Where Surviving the Game, the rich people go after Ice-T, who isn't a fighter. He's literally just a homeless man. So if you're looking to see a movie where a homeless man just grit and smarts takes out these people instead of with kicks and punches, that's an interesting dynamic. Like they're different movies. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So Singleton doing Too Fast, Too Furious was interesting at the time, just because it's it's the one time in his career that I guess Shaft too in a way, but it just feels a little more like he's directing this sequel. Shaft was much more of like a reboot, just like a straight up sequel. And then, of course, the big thing with Too Fast, Too Furious going into it is that Vin Diesel turned it down.
Okay, so okay, here's one of my active memory things is I knew this at the time, but I forgot it. So when the movie started, I was like, oh, he's not in it. I remember now he was like, I refuse to do it because what movie... Was he like all about Triple X at the time, or was he all about?
I think they've said it. If anything, it was Riddick. Because he'd already done Triple X. I think he could have done this after Triple X. But he didn't like the script. He was all about doing Chronicles of Riddick because he'd already done Pitch Black. And frankly, because I do know he said, he was asked about it fairly recently, and he said, in retrospect, he should have done it, even if he didn't like the script, because we could, because now he's so like all about Fast and the Furious, and so like the franchise, the saga, and so it's funny that he just at this point was like, no, I'm not doing it.
Well, it said on Wikipedia that he had to be severely convinced and talked into doing the first one, and he had a lot of script changes.
Yeah.
So even with the first one, he was like that, and that rumored the first person they considered for that role was Timothy Olyphant, who turned it down because he had just done Gone in 60 Seconds and didn't want to do another car movie. This is all according to...
He did. I believe he's been asked about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so forgot Vin Diesel was in it.
Was not in it. Yeah.
Cole Hauser, who was in Pitch Black, was in it, right? Wasn't Cole Hauser in Pitch Black?
Was he?
Wasn't he the asshole soldier, like the main villain by the end of Pitch Black?
You might be right. Because the thing he had worked with Singleton on Higher Learning, so that was his connection to this. Yeah.
And Cole Hauser, by the way, playing an Argentinian, right?
Yes, and who sometimes has a faint accent, sometimes does not.
Yeah. Too Fast, Too Furious, as somebody who just saw it, and you've seen it multiple times, it's way more stylized. The car chases dig into CGI a little more.
Yeah.
And it's way more butts and bros.
Yes.
Like, so many butt shots, so many bros. Like, Eric, their dialogue, there were 3 or 4 bros in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Every other line between Brian and Roman in this movie is bro. Oh, bro. Like, that's their dialogue, and it's bad. Like, I feel like that there is a playfulness to Roman, but some of their scenes, like, you can't, like, no one could come in and just punch it up a little bit. Like, you shut up. Right. No, you shut up. I saw you checking her out. I wasn't checking her out. This is the back and forth.
There's a lot going on here. There is one line Roman has, though, that I laughed a lot. Because I watched it last night by myself, but I'd forgotten that when I showed all these movies to Trish many years ago, the line that she lost it laughing at and then said many times after, because it's so cheesy and casually sexist, but it's just ridiculous.
Oh, Hoasis?
Hoasis.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay. I had that. It's in my notes. It's the Hoasis.
Hoasis is it's amazing in all the wrong ways.
Well, you know what? Brian and Roman together, they form a broasis.
Right.
I was so happy that, because Ja Rule was in the first one. Ludacris is in the second, and actually has more of a part than Ja Rule had in the first. He's actually, does he come back? He feels like somebody who would come back. Mm-hmm. So they switched it to Miami. Ludacris.
I should stop answering questions like that. But,
oh yeah, spoiler, by the way. Right. I don't want any Ludacris spoilers. Ludacris gets to be in the beginning. He's kind of the wheeler dealer. He like sets up these races and these contests. Later on, it's like jet skis or whatnot. But and then his Ludacris song gets to play while he's ludicrousing. Like,
well, now so here's the big interesting thing, Matt, is that Ja Rule was supposed to come back and have that role. That was yes. Singleton talked about this. It's funny. I think it was when the whole Firefest thing came down, and so Singleton talked about how Ja Rule was in this original script was his character would come back, have that role, and that Ja Rule turned down $500,000, which was a huge raise over the first movie. But that Singleton was basically like saying like, oh, he got too big for his britches or whatnot. And that, he turned it down. They had to change the script and invent a new character. And in came Ludacris as Tej.
Yeah, it's interesting to see a few people that went on to TV shows like Amari Nolasco and Michael Ealy and people that I know from other things.
Yes.
Sort of, I guess, earlier in their career. There are racers in the beginning who also pop up the end during the whole car melee when everyone comes out and distracts the cops. So they were there. And then the women in this, so they moved on from Toretto's crew, which was Jordana Brewster and Michelle Rodriguez. And now we have Devon Aoki and Ava Mendez, who was already big from Training Day. And she'd done some few notable things. Because at first I was like, was this her first pop-up? Like, was this her big first thing? But no, she'd done some bigger things before this.
Yes.
But so making her feel a little more wasted in this movie, yet this movie feeling way more, I don't want to use the word shallow, but just there wasn't much to this movie.
No.
And there wasn't much to the first movie, but there was less than this movie.
Yeah, this one feels extremely surface and extremely like a TV show episode.
More popcorny, when you have Ludacris and Ludacris' song is playing, and then Devon Aoki's like during the first race is like, "Move, bitch," and like, "Oh, more Ludacris," This is way more meant to be. It's almost like a meta movie in a sense, and it's moved to Miami. I'd like to think that James Remar was playing his Dexter character, and this was earlier in his career before he discovered his adopted serial killer son.
Right. Or maybe he's dealing with that at the same time, and that's why he's such an asshole.
They brought back, to bridge the two, because he's not a cop anymore, they did bring back the FBI agent dude.
They didn't bring back Ted Levine, but
they wouldn't make sense if he's in Miami. Yeah. Like, why bring back the LA cop? Like, but you bring
back Agent Bilkins.
Bilkins, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
bring back Bilkins.
A lot of it's just a lot of music video quality to some of the shots, like establishing shots, and it like they have to go undercover because he got pinched, and so he gets his old friend, and like he basically records are being cleared if they cooperate with the cops and the feds.
Yeah.
And you need to take down the bad guy. He doesn't die at the end. Don't Ludacris spoil me on this if he comes back or not, because he vows revenge. So I don't know if Cole Hauser resurfaces. I'm assuming not in Tokyo Drift, but who knows? And ejector seats. And I find myself sometimes with car chases aren't a huge deal for me in the movies. So sometimes I kind of go a little snowblind during some of the racing moments, or maybe if I saw it on the big screen, maybe if I was just a different person, I would find fast cars more interesting. But they just kind of aren't. So I find myself paying attention to the space between, which is which is their crackerjack dialogue that between Roman and Brian, and
right.
The fact that Game of Thrones, maybe they stole Cole Hauser's rat torture for their Harrenhal torture scene later on when the mountain was torturing. Yeah,
I forget that actor's name, but Christopher Nolan actor who was in Memento and Batman Begins, and then later on Sons of Anarchy.
Well, basically, he was like, Christopher Nolan saw this movie and was like, that's my dirty cop for Batman Begins.
I think they'd already done Memento together, but I'd still like to believe.
No, but at that point, he only saw him as a motel clerk in Memento, and he's like, I didn't know he could be a dirty cop too.
We got to work together again. I'm shaping this character around.
I can't remember his character's name in Batman Begins, but he was definitely the Eckhart / Harvey Bullock-y.
Yeah, slovenly eating, sweet meat eating.
Where he's like, I got kids to feed. Heath Slater in that pivotal role in Batman Begins, and he's like, they don't like falafel.
Right. The thing with Too Fast and Furious also though is, much more stylized and almost to a point. Like I would guess, I didn't do deep enough dive to see, but I would guess if you'd ask Singleton, and I bet there are some interviews with him around this, but it's like, feels like there's some animation influence here. Like the beginning, I mean, not the fact that there's CGI used, but like the beginning of the movie, the first street race, it's like those 4 cars are so colorful.
Yeah. It's
like they're almost like Power Rangers, like they're really popping. And there's a part where there's some side shots when they're racing, like from the show, and the background is like super stylized, like CGI, like blur. It almost looks like the Speed Racer movie.
Yeah. When did Speed Racer come out? 2004?
I think after this. So yeah. So this was a huge influence on Batman
Speed Racer. Yeah. The Wachowskis. So not only did Nolan watch this, but the Wachowskis.
Yes. And then you mentioned Suki, Devon Aoki's character, who she's like the most prominent of like the other racers, like the Amari Nolasco and Michael Ealy come back at the very end, but she's in the whole movie.
Well, because she's I don't know if she's like actually Tej's girlfriend or if just his friend or with benefits or if they just flirt. Right. I don't know, but she's with Tej, so she gets to be more prominent because anytime he's around, she's around.
Right. Although, yes, it's a very oogling movie. Like both her and Eva Mendes have like prominent scenes just like in bikinis. Like not just they're in bikinis, but like Devon Aoki's like looking at a car's engine in a bikini. Like just like as you do.
Eric, it's Miami.
Right. It is Miami. It's very hot there. But Devon Aoki's also funny because she was like but she's pretty prominent in like the 2000s and the aughts between this and Sin City. A couple other things like and then she kind of fell off the map, but I was looking her up and it seems like she got into like fashion design, and she started a family, and then she kind of got into like fashion design stuff, because I am like, why don't we see her more, because even Sin City 2, Jamie Chung replaced her as that character.
I didn't see Sin City 2. Oh, okay, so Jamie Chung was playing the same role. Okay,
playing the same role, yeah. That played. But so Too Fast and Furious, just a very cartoony movie. Some of that I think by design, as far as like visual style, but also it feels like a sort of TV episode, like it's just
especially because it did feel like someone needed to take just one pass on the script, and because there's a point where like he's driving with one of the bad guys, and the bad guy's like, "You're a good driver," and he's like, "Thanks, bro." And or like he saves him at the end.
Enjoy that moment. Oh, just because I do like the guy going, "You're a really good driver," after he's done like all these amazing.
And then at the end, he's like, "You saved me, bro." And it's like there's a few lines. Like there had to be something better. What was the B line? What was the alternate line that could have gone in there that just made it a little better?
Right. And then I will also mention that I did enjoy that Brian and Roman are from Barstow. That's their backstory. For people who don't know Barstow is its main claim to fame is it's the only
stop between LA and Vegas when you're on
LA
the
and
15.
Vegas,
When you're on the 15, it's a place to stop, get gas, eat before heading to Vegas. Not that there aren't maybe a few other ones, but it's like the biggest one. It's like the most notable.
It's the most prominent actual town that's in between LA and Vegas. So if you've ever done that drive, and if you live in LA, you've probably done it several times. You've stopped in Barstow and eaten at In-N-Out or something like that. Matt, I once had a funny experience in the Barstow In-N-Out just because I was in there with some friends and in came
and Roman Pierce came in.
Roman Pierce came in and said, "It's a Oasis," so we all cheered.
He's like, "It's a Oasis, animal style."
No, it was packed. Like more than In-N-Out is always packed, but it was really packed. And then in came the Barstow high school football team who just won, and it was like that's where everyone had gathered to celebrate. And
so it was a broasis.
It was a broasis. No, it was funny because I'm like, I'm trying not to be like super dismissive of people who live in small towns because it's like, hey, you live in a small town, you live in a small town. And I actually knew a couple people from Barstow, but it was the biggest deal for Barstow that night that the football team had won, and they all gathered in and out, and I just happened to be there for like this just giant celebration. And that's how we all became.
I mean, small town football, or even big town football. Like,
right.
I don't mean to brag, Eric, but I live in a 2 Chili's town.
Right.
Here in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. So, but yeah, Friday Night Football. You've seen the movie and the TV show that people love.
I've seen the movie. I love the.
You know the lights that go up on Friday nights.
I do. I know the pressure put on these kids.
Oh yeah, it drives them to lay down in traffic.
Yeah,
what was the movie where they laid down in traffic?
The Program.
Okay, and then somebody actually did it and died, right?
I think so.
Don't try this at home. Don't drive fast and don't lie down on a freeway.
I have to go in a minute, but I'll say that Too Fast and Furious, yes. We mentioned that Cole Hauser gets like shot in the shoulder but lives. We should mention that the big final stunt, which is they literally name drop Dukes of Hazzard. Like, you're gonna Dukes of Hazzard this, but yeah, the jumping the car. Conveniently, Cole Hauser like puts his boat straight down the like shore, like he doesn't go away, so that Brian can do the crazy leap and smash into the car without killing anyone.
Yeah,
like what if he killed Fuentes while Eva Mendes' character doing that?
But he like smashed his head against the steering wheel too, and I thought when his head came up, he would have like a bloody forehead or a broken nose even. But it was like he had nothing, and I was just like, that's just how sort of glossy this movie is. Like there's no. Again, not many deaths. Although I think someone died. I think one of like when Cole Hauser's character was testing them at the beginning, and they had to race other thugs and stuff. I think one of the dudes got crushed under a truck, which is like a really brutal thing to happen for somebody not doing much. Like it wasn't like there was the third act climax or something like that, and someone died. It's like someone died halfway through doing because they couldn't do a car trick.
Yeah,
and I was like, is that the main fatality?
Oh, and then I do have my last observation is just I did think it was very funny at the beginning of the movie that clearly they tried to a certain point, which is they tried to be like, well, how do we explain how no other cars are around and they're not endangering the lives of all these people? So we'll have it be that they're setting up like road closed signs, right? But then the actual race goes for so many miles and across a bridge. I'm like, how many road closed signs did they put? Like they would have had to have like really peppered this city, like really shut down half the city.
It's Miami. It's bikinis and road closures is all they got down there.
That's all they got. So those are our thoughts on Too Fast, Too Furious.
So I need to watch next week. I'm hoping these are all on Netflix. Tokyo Drift, right? Just the single movie.
Just watch the single movie. I'm having a lot of inner debate here about whether we should do 4 and 5 or 5 and 6 as our other double week.
Well, I leave that to you, and
I'll decide for next week.
All I know is that for those 10 seconds or less, I'm free because I live my life a quarter mile at a time. I hope everyone out there is listening to this podcast a quarter mile at a time and enjoying themselves. Thank you so much, and we'll wrap this up here. We'll talk about the grounds that were stomped over this weekend next week, as well as Tokyo Drift. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. Cut to Chrisley and Shakma.
Shakma!
We'll never know. We will never know, Eric.
We'll never know.
I know this, though. The Fast and the Furious: Tokyo Drift is my favorite teen murderer movie of all time.
Wow, bold.
No, I felt like this movie. Okay, so we're gonna.
Are we going into Tokyo Drift talk?
We are drifting into Tokyo Drift because the first drifters inventing drifting out in the mountains, Eric, by just feeling it. By just feeling it. So they felt the drift called to them. We are being called to Tokyo Drift right now. We're talking about as I watched for the first time all the Fast and the Furious movies except for the first one, which I had seen previously, leading up to Hobbs and Shaw, because this is what Eric commands. Because I haven't seen any of them. We rest this week with Tokyo Drift, just one movie this week, and it feels fitting because it is sort of on an island in the franchise. And is this the first movie? Is this the only movie? You can spoil it going forward, but this is the first movie for me, maybe the only movie of the franchise, featuring a fucking idiot as the lead character. Like, just an unlikable drip. Just a moron through and through.
He's not just a drifter, he's a dripper.
He's a dripper of the highest order. Just like he's not a good racer. He's not a good person. He's not, like, out for justice. He's not like a cop or an ex-cop like the first two movies. He's not, he's not really out to topple a criminal empire or anything that does the world any better. He's just like trailer trash Alabama boy. And for those listening in Alabama, I only say that because people in the movie call him trailer trash, and his
people that he goes to school with,
and his instant messenger handle is Bama boy. So I'm but yeah, this is also a movie where, and it is it's a standard, it's a running gag / old trope in Hollywood that 20-somethings play teenagers. I think it was never more prevalent, and I think it started to get fully noticed the most when 90210 was happening. Mm-hmm. And everyone's like, oh, Luke Perry and none of them look like teenagers, and they're all 30.
Gabrielle Kateris was in her early 30s. Ian Ziering, I think, was late 20s.
Yeah, some of them were early 20s, some of them were late 20s, early 30s. So it really was like grown-ass adults playing high school students. I don't know why, even though this has been going on forever, I don't know why it so stood out to me. Why can I forget it? Lucas Black, is that his name?
Yeah.
Who, great child actor who we all enjoyed in Sling Blade, and
we enjoyed in American Gothic
for a single season, and wasn't he at the beginning of the X-Files movie? I can't remember. Anyway,
he was at least in an X-Files episode, I believe. Yeah.
So, great child actor, all grown up. Why maybe it's his hair, maybe it's like how hairy his chest is, and it's just like there's a moment, he's in high school at the beginning in Arizona, and you've got the Tool Time kid, the Home Improvement kid as the jock that he races in the housing development.
Zachary Ty Bryan, who would play a high school bully for about 10 years after Home Improvement went off the air.
I mean, he looks like a grade A meathead, so it totally fits. But buying him as a teenager, buying Lucas Black as a teenager in this movie, and he was only in his...
They make sure to tell us isn't even 18 yet.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's like when he gets pinched at the beginning for almost killing people and being a terrible racer.
Right.
No one wins this match. Everyone just gets severely injured. And it's like the cop talking to his mom, it's like, they may try him as an adult. I'm like, whoa, he's like that. It really leapt out at me where it's like, he is supposed to be a minor in this movie. And He looks older than Paul Walker did as an undercover cop in the first two, and so it really is funny and then as the movie progresses and, he eventually goes to live with his dad, his estranged father in Tokyo. And every once in a while, it would cut back to him in, like, he has to go to a Japanese high school. It's like, oh, yeah, he's in high school. And he still has to do high school things. And it's so weird because he just doesn't seem like it. And also, again, as I've stated, he's a goddamn moron.
It really is just thinking about how, look, in life, we all age differently. We all carry age differently. Because Lucas Black was 24, I believe, when the movie came out, which means he might have been 23 when he filmed it. There are plenty of actors we've seen that 23-year-olds play high school students pretty credibly.
Like Thomas
right?
Dekker. You know what I mean? Like he like from Sarah Connor Chronicles and and the Secret Circle or whatever. It's like he.
I mean, right now, Tom Holland, right? Tom Holland,
exactly.
You know, Lucas Black, just nothing about him. He was an old 23, and so it just or 24. So it was like just so funny. You know, it's not like no actors in their 20s can play high school students credibly. It happens all the time, probably more than you realize it. But Lucas Black is just it. And when it came out, Matt, by the way, yeah, that was everyone mentioned that.
Okay. See, I don't know what the discussions were when movies came out. That's why I brought up. That's why I brought up them during the first week.
Because he seems like he's like honestly he reads like he's like at least mid-30s, even though he was mid-20s playing high school. So it just that didn't work.
All this movie is
Sean.
That's right. All this movie is Sean getting into trouble because he's an idiot who crashes cars and talks to other people's girlfriends, and that's all.
Yes.
That's what this movie is. It's like he makes huge enemies, which leads to huge life mistakes because he flirts with other guys' girlfriends. Why they are into him?
Shout out to my friend Nikki Griffin. I don't know if you know Nikki, who plays the girl at the beginning with
who puts herself on the line.
Winner gets me.
Yeah, who puts herself up as the prize.
Yes.
And I don't know why they're into. Why any of these girls give Sean the time of day? Because it's like he's not good. He doesn't know cars really well. His car is filled with trash. Like when he rolls his car in the beginning, like all this fast food trash flies all over the place.
That was a cool shot with the Tabasco sauce.
Yeah, but it's like this guy's just like a delinquent slob. Right. And it's like even the girls he meets, like because everybody he meets in this movie, apparently in every school there's a secret sect that's super into cars and racing, like and knows their shit. Everyone knows more than him, and. This movie, it just felt like it was really, I guess, you could tell me the history of this movie, but they couldn't get any of the stars back. They wanted to keep the franchise going. It didn't really know what it wanted to be. Like, it took a huge step by going to Tokyo. I don't know if that was the plan with the original stars and they had to sort of create a new character for it, or because they couldn't get
I believe there were early drafts written for Diesel that would have brought him to Tokyo.
Okay, so Tokyo was always the plan then.
I think that was something that jumped out to someone. Probably someone read about drifting, and so they did think that this third movie will go to Tokyo.
Well, they got Diesel in for a cameo at the end who wanted to face the new Drift King.
Yes, and so let's go a little behind the scenes on this one and say, it's a weird time for the franchise. I forgot to mention, I said I was, and then I forgot to mention, like looking at like the box office of the first two movies. First movie, it's a success. It makes 144 million in America, but only 62 overseas. But a $38 million budget. It's a hit. They make the sequel, and it makes a little more overseas, but a little less in America. They only got Walker back for it, and now they're doing a third one without either of them. There was some talk, I believe, at the time that they might put it straight to video. Which again, Universal is one of the few studios still to this day keeping the straight to video sequel thing going. They still make Scorpion King and Death Race movies, and sometimes they'll make like Hard Target. Sometimes they make like Hard Target 2 like 2 years ago. So Universal actually still like sees a market for straight to video sequels with brand names. So there was talk, I believe, of Tokyo Drift might be a straight to video movie. I'm sure the budget was less than the second, which was actually quite a bit higher than the first.
Well, there are no stars, a new director.
No star.
Like this, I mean, this, if anything, this also jump-started Justin Lin's career.
Oh, yeah, and that's the other funny thing.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing behind the scenes, right, is that this is the first movie, and again, it's going to be I'm very interested as we get into the next two movies, Matt, because it's like, this is the first Fast and Furious movie Justin Lin's going to direct of 4 in a row, and now he's coming back for 9 and 10. It's also the first Fast and Furious movie Chris Morgan will write, and he'll go on to write like all of them.
This one's not good. Okay.
But here's the thing. But I'll say it's like they both do a lot better. And it's just interesting to see that this is the movie that what they were brought on from, where because this series was such a weird flux and could have just ended right here. It made the least of all of them. Not shocking. Of the entire series, it's the lowest grossing, especially in America, where it only made 62 million. There's a lot of reasons to think this would probably be the end for it. And then the other thing about Diesel, and I don't know if you know this, it's like he only did the cameo to get the rights to Riddick back from Universal. That was their exchange, because he wanted to make another Riddick after that had flopped. Pitch Black was a hit for a low budget movie. Chronicles of Riddick bombed. He still wanted to do something else with the character, which he eventually would. And so he agreed to a cameo in this movie to get the rights to Riddick back. So
that's a fair trade. And then they were able to sort of like tether it a bit to the original franchise, because they made Dom a friend of Han's.
Yes. And by the way, even there's things, of course, I know are inescapable in pop culture, like the fact that everyone jokes about Fast and the Furious and the use of the word family.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
You've heard that.
I mean, I think it works.
I don't think that word is said with significance until the end of the third movie, when he said he knew Han. He said he was family. So it's actually kind of funny that this is the movie that brings in that word with significance to the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I'm glad to have Dom in there, because Dom at least feels like a character with a little bit of heft to him, whereas Sean is just a sort of a paperweight punk who lucks out, essentially. And he's not clever. He's not smart. He makes dumb decisions. He just by the skin of his teeth learns to drift well enough to murder people in the streets of Tokyo. The Tokyo race itself in the middle of the movie that kills Han is pretty cool. I mean, you have to believe that he can honk his horn and an entire sea of people will clear an arc for him to drift through.
Yes.
But other than that, you know who he reminded me of? He reminded me of Real World London. I don't know what's his name, Mike? I don't know the name of the NASCAR driver, the race car driver who went out there. And like many other people on that show found that he couldn't do what he wanted to do over there because of like work permits, or like he just didn't. Actually, I think he tested to drive out there and he didn't pass. So then he was sort of homebound the rest of the season like everyone else. But one of the first few episodes when he went out there and he's like there was no ranch salad dressing in the London supermarket, and he made a scene out of it. He threw a fit. He had a tantrum. He's like, I don't understand how there can't be ranch. Like he didn't grasp that he was in a completely foreign country with different foods and different customs and different ways. Yeah, I mean the fact that everyone speaks English is maybe confused him a little bit, but this was kind of like, it wasn't as bad, but like Sean, like, look at this crazy food. And like he's talking to Neela, the girl in the movie, who's like, I didn't even have to put ketchup on this. And it's like, oh my God, how is this guy the main character even in his own story? How is he?
What am I doing here? We should mention the Bow Wow has Twinkie and his Hulk car.
Oh yeah, the Hulk car. Well, yeah.
The Hulk car, which Matt, for many years, the Hulk car would sit outside the Hulk coaster at Universal Orlando. I saw it in person there many times.
The more Sean hated that Hulk car, the more I was into it, because anything Sean liked, I hated, and anything Sean hated, I liked. It was very contrary to him. And so they also continue the tradition of sort of a hip hop star being the wheeler dealer. Yeah, they got Bow Wow in there and place. They had Ja Rule, then they had Ludacris, now they have Bow Wow, and the hip hop star also giving us the meta moment of the movie. In this case, it wasn't a reference, but like there was a moment when they're drifting inside the parking garage, and Sean is crashing his car and everything, and everyone's going up in the elevator. And Bow Wow Twinkie gets into the elevator with a bunch of like hot chicks, and he like looks at the camera and winks as the door closes, and I'm like,
it's like Revenge of the Nerds, Takashi, or Wormser, who does the like
right at the camera,
classic Wormser.
So I know there was a crime element to this movie. There's like the Yakuza, and I don't know what Han was stealing, or why he was stealing, or why the Drift King let him get away with stealing. They were friends. I don't know, something, but Drift King.
And Sonny Chiba, Tarantino's beloved Sonny Chiba, playing the
Yakuza
the
uncle. Uncle. So Japanese film legends, martial arts legend, Sonny Chiba, who was in Kill Bill, right? Wasn't he in Kill Bill as the sword maker?
Sword maker, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
Christian Slater's long monologue about him in True Romance.
Yes, which did not at all feel like just Tarantino trying to pick up a chick poorly. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know what he was stealing or why. I don't know.
Right.
But
it was that was a little, I'd actually forgotten about that. The fact that Han, very likable.
He was likable. I wish I'd been about Han. Yeah.
And so it's just, and I don't know if you know. So did you ever see Better Luck Tomorrow, Matt?
No, but that's Justin Lin's movie, right?
That was Justin Lin's first movie. That was about kind of like a bunch of like high school and slightly older, I think, Asian kids who kind of are sort of, it's almost like a bling ring thing. Like they're sort of doing crime on the side almost for a lark. And that actor is in that movie and he plays a character named Han. And they have said that this is not obviously official canon, especially since a different studio owns the rights. But in their mind, it's the same character.
So that Better Luck Tomorrow is in the Fast and Furious universe, is what you're saying.
In their mind, it is.
It's sort of grandfathered in because it was,
yes.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Constantine had to be grandfathered into Arrow.
Exactly. That's exactly what everyone was thinking at the time, even though it hadn't happened yet. I think,
right.
I'll just say this. We can wrap it up here because we've had a full chat about many, many things this week. But the movie was kind of like, it was trying to feel out what it wanted to be. There were no bros in this movie, by the way. It was a lot of gaijin, but no bra or bro or any of that stuff. That kind of got left behind with the Barstow crew. Mm-hmm. But I will say that when they were in Arizona and they were racing at the beginning, they did play. It was like, what does this movie want to be? How does it want to differentiate itself from other movies? So it's like the American stuff. It's like you get the Kid Rock song, which at this point was still 8 years old. You know, It's like they were trying to bring back the music from 2001 from the first movie, but I think it worked because I laughed when I heard it. I was like, this song was old when this movie came out,
right?
So if they're trying to time capsule this, it's not working. But then I realized it's like when they go over to Tokyo, there's a shift in music, and it's like to separate it, to like even add to like the difference of the movie, but also the difference of the location, the exoticness, I guess you could say. But a lot of the music was also kind of like Japanese like techno spins on what would be considered American nu metal and stuff like that. It was just an interesting blend. I could see why, Justin Lin had a career after this. I think it was well done. I just think, the lead of the movie is a total unlikable herb, and that there wasn't really any true stakes. It wasn't like we're taking down a criminal ring, we're taking down smugglers, we're taking down thieves or whatever. It's just like this guy failing upward into the world of drift racing in Tokyo.
Right. My last two observations are, I do think, Justin Lin does bring a lot of style to it. I actually really like the opening credits with that song playing as like you see the kids going through security and stuff. Like there's like a good, especially after Too Fast, Too Furious, which, John Singleton's a good director, but that was not a good fit, even though he went for a little bit of that kind of cartoony stuff. Justin Lin seems like there's a reason he'll become like the director of the franchise. And in this movie, it's a bad movie, but you can kind of see some of that style creeping in. Like I said, I actually like that shot where he flips the car and you see all the refuse in his car, because it's just like a fun shot with the Tabasco sauce flying through. Also, of course, when you watch, I say old movies, old from 2006, actors who you'll see in other things. So the one that jumped out at me in this one is Leonardo Nam, who played the Drift King's best friend with the bleached blonde hair.
Oh, like
is Felix on Westworld.
Miramoto. Oh, he is.
Yes.
He's like one of the wisecracking techs, right?
Yes. He's the one who has a lot of all those misadventures with Tandy Newton. He's I was like, wait, who is that guy? I kind of recognize him, and then I was like, oh, the reason I kind of recognize him is the spiky bleached blonde hair is a little different than we've seen him on
he's one of the people who get murdered while racing in this movie by a teenager whose actions and irresponsible actions lead to others' injury and death constantly.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's been our Tokyo Drift.
That's been our Tokyo Drift. Oh, God. Okay. We have to decide right now. Are we doing? So realistically, by the way, Matt, we haven't talked about this. Realistically, I do not think I can do a podcast during Comic-Con. But next week we can do a 4th of July week one, whether we do it Thursday or Friday. Do we do 4 and 5 together?
Well, it'll have to be Friday because I'm seeing the Far From Home pretty early on. The 4th.
So next week we're going to do a podcast on Friday.
Wait, hold on. Someone wrote in, and this could wrap us up. But somebody did write in that was something that I didn't know that if I was going to read on the podcast or not. But let's see, maybe if I don't find it or not. Oh, here we go. Anthony writes in, "Hello, fun overlords. This email isn't actually about Raw, SmackDown, or Stomping Ground, but rather something Eric mentioned at the end of last week's episode. I need to recommend watching Fast and Furious, the fourth movie, on its own, and then watching Fast 5 and Furious 6. Fast 5 is the pinnacle of the franchise, in my opinion, and considering movies 2 and 3 were so wacky, I think 4 is best used as a palate cleanser to prepare for it. So what do you think about that?"
All right, we'll do it. 'Cause really, my only question was, do we double up? Because I said we have to double up one more time. Do we double up 4 and 5 or 5 and 6? All right. What's the name of the person who sent in this email?
Anthony,
you're reading me this email at exactly the right time. So, Anthony, you have decided we're going to just watch 4 next week. But then we'll watch 5 and 6 together.
That sounds fine to me. All right. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. Cut to Chrisley and Shakma.
Shakma, Drift King.
What do you drift for, Eric?
I don't know. Whatever's in front of me.
Aaliyah, Battle Angel. Fast and Furious, Eric.
Yes.
Fast and Furious. Mm-hmm. Notoriously not free to stream on Netflix.
Yes.
I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was, I felt it was like a solid-ish movie like the first movie. And it's not anything deep or long-lasting, I think. It's mostly, it's all about Brian sort of like reacclimating into the people he betrayed, like re-entering their lives and like them hating him at first and then being cool with him at the end.
Right.
The stunts were pretty damn good. Like the car work, I feel like there was sort of, I don't know what percentage leap I would say, but there was a noticeable leap in the quality of the races. Not that they weren't bad before, but the car crashes and the stunt work I thought were really well done.
Yes.
And Han was in it at the beginning.
He was. Yes, Han made it, and this is how, we're like, oh wait, this is a prequel to Tokyo Drift. This is where the timeline starts to get interesting by bringing Han back in there. And then it was like you said, I think the stunts are all escalated in this movie. It looks sort of bigger. Like the stuff out in the desert and then going to the tunnels. It also had that pretty cool foot race with Brian and that guy at the beginning when he's reintroduced, which is like kind of one of their first bigger non-car action sequences. That's done very well, I thought. And it's also just, this is an interesting movie, of course, because this is the rebuilding movie, right? And again, I remember when this movie came out, and you have to keep in mind, this is 8 years already from the first movie when this one comes out. And at the time, it felt kind of embarrassing that Vin Diesel and Paul Walker hadn't made it. Like, it felt like they had to they had to accept that they were Fast and Furiousers because after they left the franchise, it really hadn't worked out for either of them. Like, their star vehicles, no pun intended, none of them had really taken off. So we'd had like Timeline and Into the Blue and 8 Below for Walker and Chronicles of Riddick, The Pacifier, Babylon AD for Diesel. Triple X was a hit, but that had been like his only big post.
You and I saw The Pacifier in the theater, Eric.
I never saw The Pacifier. I don't think you're right about that.
I saw The Pacifier in the theater, Eric.
You were like a hardcore Pacifier fan. That's right.
There was a duck in it. I was like, Vin Diesel and a duck. I am sold.
Yeah, you just
no. I'm just remembering now. I probably took one of my kids to see it. Also, there was a duck.
There was a duck. But yeah, so they came back, and at the time, I just again in the lead up, like just hearing they were back, it's like, oh, yeah, I guess you weren't as big as you thought you were, guys, right? And also, it's like, oh, Fast and Furious 4. I mean, the third one was already kind of a dud, and box office wise, it had made so much less, and this is like they're just gonna bleed everything out of this franchise. This is kind of obviously going to be the last one. It's kind of sad. So it's an entertaining movie. It's the best one since the first one. And maybe, and a lot of things, of course, are better than the first one as far as, like the stunt work and whatnot. And then B, it was a solid hit. Like it actually made, I was actually surprised it made $70 million its opening weekend, which at the time was the biggest opening ever in April and bigger than Tokyo Drift's entire domestic gross.
Yeah, they really wanted Walker and Diesel back.
Yeah,
And
I guess that there was some alchemy there as far as like what people were into about.
And they wanted no drifting whatsoever.
Right.
They got Han out of the way first. He's like, I hear there's some interesting things going on in Tokyo. Like,
yes.
So and it's just weird because he's like helping Dom and his family and the crew he's got set up down there with Letty like steal gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dom's like, the heat's coming in. I don't want you around. You should leave. And like he goes from that to like, I'm gonna go to Tokyo and find a fucking idiot. Like, I feel so bad for Han. Like he's had like a really cool like action, action star life, and then he goes to Tokyo, and then this Harry Herb shows up, and it's like ugh, and it winds up getting him all killed. Like he winds up dying because of this douche, in Tokyo. So yeah, I feel bad for Han.
Light one out for Han. Pour one out for Han. And then this movie, of course, introduces the lovely Gal Gadot as Giselle.
Okay, spoilers. I guess she comes back.
Shows up in this film. I could have just been saying introduced to the world in that, but yeah.
Oh, well,
but you might see her again.
Okay, well, yeah. So a couple people. It's always interesting to go back because I haven't seen these, and now I'm looking at movies that are over a decade old. And
suffice to say, by the way, since I guess I did insinuate there. People have been mostly cool on Twitter, but don't tell Matt anything, guys. Let him experience the journey for himself.
I'm assuming Letty's not dead, even though that was the whole driving plot of this movie. Right. Unless she has a twin named Betty, because Michelle Rodriguez comes back. So, it's interesting just to see like Gal Gadot show up, and then Shea Wiggum is there from who I wouldn't notice big until, of course, Boardwalk Empire. But he's
and then
Paul
Agent
Walker's shithead partner or just co-FBI guy. It is interesting that Brian is able to. He didn't go back to the police force.
No,
he joined the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So it's not like because they were like. They talked about him being reinstated. It was like, well, he was never a Fed.
No.
But now, so it's like he not only did he come back, get to be in law enforcement again, but he got a huge bump up as far as like jurisdiction and responsibility.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's gotten way bigger.
Considering everything he's done. I mean, he did help bring down, I guess we were talking Too Fast, Too Furious. He helped bring down whoever that asshole was.
Right.
I don't even know what he was smuggling, but he was a bad dude.
He's doing bad stuff. They don't bring back Bilkins, the FBI agent from the first two.
So that's the thing. He joins the feds, and then they can't get Bilkins back?
No Bilkins. Bilkins asked for too much money.
I was going to say, he was asking for that Bilkins Bitcoin. Yeah.
I have no idea why he didn't come back, but no Bilkins. We get Shea Wiggum.
I hope he didn't die. Did he die? Anyway.
No, he didn't. I actually made sure to look it up because I wanted to.
Yeah, I don't want to be joking about Bilkins if he died.
Right. Liza Lapira, who I always like and should be a bigger star, is also one of the FBI agents. Has Sophie Trin, who works with Brian in the movie. It's the return of the original four, and then John Ortiz is the bad guy.
Well, so here's the thing. This is one of those things where I could spot the twist because, that guy's in everything.
Yes.
I just saw him in, like, Skull Island and Cloverfield Paradox. He's in everything.
He's in the trailer for Ad Astra, with Brad Pitt. Yeah.
So, and it's like, and then after a while, and then he says that very pointed thing where it's like, would you die for him? He's like, I especially would die for him. I'm like, oh, Jesus, it's you. You're just making like a wink at nobody. Like it's like there's literally no one else around for him to like make that reference to. So he's doing a very knowing comment to himself. He's like, later on, he's like, that guy didn't know what I meant.
What an idiot.
An idiot.
Also, John Ortiz, though, he is in everything. And I admire him as a actor who I don't want to say he's chameleon-like. You recognize him, but he can play very different type of roles. Because the other thing I always think of him from is Togetherness, the HBO show where he was like
wasn't he a priest?
No, he was just wasn't he just like the sweet normal guy that Melanie Linsky was having an affair with or flirting with? But he has.
Why do I think he was a priest? Am I thinking of Fleabag? But wasn't he like a good guy? Didn't he do he did social work?
He was
just
social
saying
work. He was not a priest,
charity,
though.
but he did charity stuff.
But he was just this nice curly haired.
So priest.
like frumpy guy.
I call anyone who does like selfless charity work priests.
But in this movie, you shave his head and he's the evil drug lord or whatever he was doing. I can't remember.
Braga.
Yeah. And then, by the way, Matt, we probably should address, it's been a few weeks, but we should address that our faux pas, you said it, but then I agreed with you, which was that there was no Robin Hood aspect to
I guess not. I guess I misread it because the opening scene of the first Fast and Furious movie, it seemed like the dude who was like contacting somebody, it's like they were rolling out a stolen shipment, but I guess that was a legitimate shipment. So they were just stealing stuff.
They're just thieves.
But that just made the trucker at the end who's trying to kill them with a shotgun even more intense. Like, just let him steal it, dude.
Well, they have that one line about how these guys are...
Yeah, but it's like
they're taking a stand.
Just
that guy.
I'm sorry, but I feel like if you're a trucker and like 3 cars roll up on you doing weird tricks and people jump onto your goddamn truck,
right?
Like you're allowed to like let that shipment go and you won't get any. I don't know what these companies are doing. Like, you're fired. You couldn't stop the highwayman.
Right.
Yeah, so I misunderstood that whole thing. There was no Robin Hood aspect of it. In the same way, like, I don't understand why Han was just stealing in Tokyo Drift. They're just thieves. They're terrible people. Is what I'm saying.
But they love each other.
The other thing they kind of got rid of from the first movie is Dom's like, I will die before I go back to prison. And I'm not saying that because obviously he was ready to die in a revenge mission to avenge Letty's death and willing to go down and get arrested for it at that moment. It's not like when the cops showed up at the end, he was like, went down in a blaze of glory. Because he said he was going to die before he went back. And this is after only serving 2 years in prison. In a relatively short stint in prison, he came out with a very hard credo about, like, I will die before I serve another day in prison. Then at the end of this, he gets the maximum sentence, and then hence that he's rescued at the end. But it's just they sort of went away from that because the cops were closing in on him, and there was no insinuation that where he was like, and you know me, I'm going to shoot at them and go and get myself killed. He just didn't want everyone else to get arrested because he was going to get arrested.
Right. But you could say at this point, Dom has lost Letty, gotten revenge for that. So he's in a different headspace now. So whatever his 2 years of trauma in prison were, he's moved past it and he's willing to go back.
He's like, I had to work in the laundry room.
Right.
I hate laundry. And Mia's like, yeah, he does. Ever since he was a kid, he hated laundry.
Never again. I liked Brian holding the ankle of the guy.
That was good. That was really fun at the end too.
That was good stuff.
It was that scene where he's flirting with Gal Gadot, and he's like, "What kind of woman do you like?" And he's like, 20% angel, 80% devil. I'm like, is that like a tagline from a horror movie that I don't know? Was that She-Devil or Hellraiser or something?
I don't know. It also does, and I know earlier, I think the second one especially, but the other movies in this franchise have done it, but it's like the we can make like punny references to cars and women, because she's like, are you one of those guys who likes your cars more than your ladies? He's like, I appreciate anything that's like well built, or I can't remember how he says it.
Yeah, he says, I appreciate the body no matter the make or something.
Right,
like that.
right.
He's like, I'll fuck a car. He's like, I don't care.
And I have. Hey, I forgot to ask you as we move into the second half of this series so far. Did you see the post-credit scene to the first movie?
No, I didn't stick around.
Okay. Because
I still could. It's on Netflix for free.
Okay, it's inconsequential, but I will say, going forward, Matt, don't turn it off right when the credits begin.
Netflix doesn't let me, Eric. Well, I mean, now I can because it's not Netflix. But yeah,
Okay.
Netflix just switched on to the next thing, like whatever it was. Like,
I changed all my settings so it doesn't do that to me. I still have
you can
to
change it. Yeah.
I still have to switch back to make the box full size so it's not in the corner, but it doesn't autoplay into something else. So.
The worst. We can agree that the first movie was Point Break, right?
Yes.
This movie was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, right? Like they're both trying to get the same guy through different means. You know, one's legitimate, and one's sort of the rogue.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying that.
All right, that's true. And then of course,
Paul Walker's Michael Caine.
The titling of this series becomes a fascinating thing because I get Too Fast, Too Furious, extremely funny. Use of the number 2. The third one I get dropping any numbering because it was such a standalone movie. This one, it's the gang's all back. We want to, like, kind of going back to our roots. So I guess they wanted to just title it like the first one, but just drop the
they
thes.
didn't. Yeah, they took out the thes and they added an ampersand.
They could have done Fast and Furious, but they didn't do that.
Well, they were facing that would have made me start watching the series from this movie if they had called it Fast and Furious. But I feel like they were facing an uphill battle already. I don't think they knew it was going to be as big a hit as it wound up being.
No
Like,
one
they
did.
just wanted everyone back to try to capture some of the magic the first couple movies had.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this was the biggest hit. And I think so total it made 363 worldwide, biggest hit, but not like we're still not in like mega block. This is a hit series. This is a profitable series that had some bumps, but if the actors are all back, people will turn out for it. Great.
I guess don't spoiler it, but I do want to know: does Dom going forward? Does he like CSI other crash sites?
Oh yeah, when he uses his like powers of car,
or he's like Will Graham, but with like nitro burns on the ground.
Yeah, it's very specific with cars. Yes. I won't say whether that happens again or not. I will say that yes, it was another thing that people had a good time with when the movie opened. I remember a lot of reviews bringing up like, Dom can just if there's a car crash, he can tell you everything that happened.
He's just the rest of the movies. He's just an insurance investigator.
That's right.
It's like investigating like rear ends and fender benders. I like the movie.
Like, the movie when they go, I don't do that anymore, but then he just really doesn't do it anymore.
He's like, I told you I don't do it anymore.
Right.
What does that mean to you? All right. Well, let's wrap it up here. Sorry for the bumps and blurps and the Max headrooming at the top of the show. Fortunately, that smoothed itself out. I think it was the all the animals, your cat, the outside cat, the Roadrunner. I think they helped.
There's a lot going on there, energy-wise.
Yeah.
Next week, we're going to watch 2 Fast and Furious movies. Not 2 Fast and Furious again.
No, I know. Yeah, I know.
We're going to watch Fast 5 and Fast and Furious 6. Matt, it probably is the way it would work out, I'm guessing, for your schedule anyway, but to not watch them back to back, give them a little space.
No, there's no way I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But that was never an option.
So 2 episodes next week, and then a week after, I think we're going to have to be off while I'm Comic-Conning, which is scary close, by the way, Matt. I don't like when it sneaks up on me like this.
It's not my concern anymore.
It's not your concern.
All right. Love you all out there in podcast land. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Right.
But let's move into the Fast and the Furious 5 and 6. I was trying to figure out a way.
Your AC works overtime all summer, so be sure to replace your old air filters with new Filtry air filters. They recommend updating HVAC filters at least every 3 months all year round. So order your Filtry air filters today at Filtry.com. Let's clear the air.
To package both of these, except, I think it's kind of easily. We mentioned during the Fast and the Furious. It was just called the Fast and the Furious, not Fast 4.
The fourth one was just called Fast and Furious. No thes.
Okay. I was going to add extra thes. The Fast and the Furious. That
could be the final one.
There was a step up in stunt work. I thought the car chases were a lot more cooler than they had been, even though they had been pretty decent and formidable.
Sure.
But these movies are the budgets are higher, the production is obviously bigger, the ensembles are bigger. They're actually, and I guess we can sort of put these 2 movies under the umbrella of the introduction of Hobbs.
Yep.
Fully, Rock enters in 5 as Luke Hobbs, a antagonist in the first one until he's a ally at the end, and then a fuller ally in the second one, in 6.
Yes.
Then I also couch these under the redemption of Vince and the tragedy of Han, both of which were well done, but also, the Vince one was well done. I thought I liked it being back. And what I am starting to appreciate more about this series as it extends into the Fast and Furious universe, especially since at the end of Fast 5, Eva Mendes got brought back for a very brief scene, just tying things to Too Fast, Too Furious, and reminding us that, it is a shared universe, and we are actively connecting things when we can and when we are able to. Because it's like we talk about wrestling and complain that's the thing, it's like we complain for like 45 minutes about how things don't make sense and things get dropped and there's no payoff on things because the rules aren't paid attention to or acknowledged or even created where they should be, and the continuity is definitely not there. And now we're entering a place where the details are getting a little more complicated and layered than they should for what's considered to be a silly bubblegum popcorn franchise.
Right.
And
no, the fifth one is like fascinating to me because like just the idea that, it's funny you said shared. You said shared universe, even though it's one series until Hobbs and Shaw comes out. But
yeah, that's right. I used the wrong terminology. Yeah, I get it.
You did and you didn't, because a lot of people, when Fast Five came out, said, "Wow, it's crazy that they bumbled their way into like the Avengers because there was so many like leads coming and going, and then they decided to do this thing of bringing everyone back, which they didn't have to do. Once they got Diesel and Walker back, they didn't need to bring back the people from the other movies.
Yeah, they didn't need Roman and Tej and all, and even
right.
You kind of showed your hand a little bit when you said introduces Gal Gadot, and I was like, oh, I guess she returns. Yeah, she's a recurring character.
I guess, and by the way, that's always the funny thing for me with you is like not knowing, and I've been happy about it, but then I need to be careful what I said, how little you knew, because
I only knew that Michelle Rodriguez
Gal Gadot was from this series, but I guess you didn't.
I know very little. I knew Luke Evans was in it. I don't know when any of them appear or in what context or why. I just know people pop up. Here's the thing. I realized more in this movie because Han was in the beginning of 4. Right. And then he's like, I'm off. And I'm like, oh, that's leads Han into Tokyo Drift. I'm like, no, they're still continuing with 2 more movies now. They're continuing they're asserting that all of this still takes place before Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
This is all prequels to Tokyo Drift.
Yep.
I didn't realize that. First, when I started watching Han, and I was like, oh, Han's back. I don't know how they're going to bring this up, but what I'm choosing to believe right now is that Tokyo Drift happened between 4 and 5. He faked his death to come back to a much better story. He's like, oh, how am I going to get rid of this Sean bozo? I know, I'm going to fake my death, go back to the cool kids down in Rio, and do a lot better, have a much better storyline with higher stakes and a lot better stunt work. It's also very clear to me, too, that from Tokyo Drift, they make, they're kind of like coming out of that movie, and it's something you talked about too, which is like, yeah, clearly the more interesting character than the lead of that movie. Yes, like, let's pull out the guy that everyone actually liked from Tokyo Drift. Forget about that other asshole who got him killed.
Right.
And then, well, as we found out, didn't really, but let's run with what worked from that movie, because not a lot worked in that movie, but there was a couple elements, so let's actually run with it. Yeah, and then let's also make it super sad, because not only having him lose his love... By the way, did we know that Giselle died? Don't give it away. Because people falling... The stunts are so crazy in this movie that somebody can fall out of that plane, and I'm like, maybe they're okay. Like, are we assuming they died just because they fell 10 feet? Like,
I feel like I can tell you we are to assume she is dead.
All right, but until Fast and Furious 9, right?
Right. Who knows?
Where she comes back with amnesia and John Cena is running her and he's the evil villain. I don't know what his role is, but I just thought it was, even for that franchise with all the crazy stuff they do, for him to just assume she was dead as a character. I was like, he should just at least go back and check.
Right,
because the same fate kind of fell on Owen Shaw too. He fell out of the plane in kind of the same way. I think fell an equal distance at an equal speed.
Right.
And I'm like, check on him too. Like, check on all these people. These are crazy stunts, and everyone seems to survive somehow. So I think it's arrogant presumption to think that they're dead.
Right.
But yeah, so it was really super sad. Especially since in 6, Han and Giselle, like, Han really wants to settle down with her, and then it's very telling. Of course, she's like, yeah, let's settle down. Of course, that sort of dog ears the fact that, oh yeah, she's toast.
And she says, we'll go to Tokyo together, which we know she will not. So
well, we know, and I'm like, what, are they just going to go there to break up? I just think that it took me a little bit more by surprise that she died, because I know Han died. So I'm like, really? He's going to lose her, and then he's going to die? That's poor Han. Anyway,
it's a very sad end for this guy. Yeah,
but then
he's saddled with Sean in his final days.
That's the worst. I mean, at least
I don't hate Sean nearly as much as you, but your hate amuses me. So,
but the fact that he went from the gasoline heist at the beginning of 4 to all the action in 5 and 6, and then has to mope around with that Harry Herb in Tokyo for like a nothing adventure against a wannabe gangster who's nothing. He's fought drug cartel like mercenaries and like James Bond style villains, and then he goes and like he's undone by this stupid punk in Tokyo. DK. But then they answered that for me, right? Because it's like, who killed him? Well, who killed him was this bald asshole, who I'm assuming just by name is Owen's brother. And now I'm like, because he killed my favorite character probably on this whole series, I'm like, oh, I don't even want to watch Hobbs and Shaw. I'm not giving you a second chance at all.
It's okay to say you're safe in your assumption they're brothers. That earlier in Fast and Furious 6, they have Owen say, my brother always said, yeah, a man has to have a code.
So it's interesting because, obviously they've dropped the excessive. I realize now, just watching these other movies, I mean, I made fun of it at the time. They dropped the excessive amount of bros and bras from Too Fast, Too Furious, which really feels like a that movie only thing, because they don't do it at all in these movies. They dropped the bros and bros completely. Now it's all about family. They say that a lot. But so in 6, Dom Toretto goes up. He's like, the guy who cares about family against he goes up against the guy who doesn't believe in family, and like everyone's expendable. And it's like, oh, your family's your weakness. And so it was like, these are sort of silly villains without much going on, but they inform the plot, which is what you kind of want. Like they inform where the family is in their story right now. Right. And I'll say this in 6, because this is when they brought back Michelle Rodriguez, and she had the silly amnesia, whatever. Yeah. The moment between Dom Toretto and Letty after the street race, I do like the part that whereas everything gets crazier, they still find time to have at least one street race intro montage with the butts and the music and in both movies, there's still a street race scene.
Although 5 skips the actual race.
Yeah, you don't see him win the car. At that point, you're like, I get it. I understand that he's going to beat this idiot. Right. But the moment between him and Letty was the most interesting character moments for either of those characters in the series, and it's 6 movies in. Yes. Like, I believed in their love in that moment when she didn't remember him more than anything else I'd seen between the two of them. And I'm just saying, it was like, I was caught off guard. I'm like, oh, they actually feel like more like real characters here than action movie characters.
Right. A, I agree. B, I'd love if you were like, Dom and Letty is my favorite movie romance.
Dom and Letty, it's like Dom and Letty, Benny and June. I just named like
Jack and Rose. They're my favorite. It's hard because we are doing 5 and 6 together, which I think does make the most sense, even though in a perfect world we would have done separate weeks. But it's like going back to 5, a couple of things that really stand out to me are again, they bring everyone back, and it's super fun, especially because it's like it suddenly legitimizes like Too Fast, Too Furious, which I think even more than Tokyo Drift was like the overt, like there is a sect of Tokyo Drift fandom more than I think there is for Too Fast, Too Furious, which is like, it's like super bro-y, super like expendable, it's just a weird vapid movie. Not that this is a deep series, but not only do they bring back Roman and Tej, but then they give like a mini mission to Brian, Tej, and Roman, like when they go off together to like check out the police station and stuff. So it's like, and especially because Justin Lin and Chris Morgan didn't even work on the first 2 movies. I was like, oh wow, they're like going out of their way to be like,
and
this is part of our canon.
And they made, for all intents and purposes, they made an enjoyable ensemble, especially when you've got Ludacris and Tyrese. Like their one-liners don't always land, but they're a fun energy, right? Like they're bickering back and forth and their insults and stuff. It's like, it's fun, and it lends to everyone else is so stoic and kind of grumpy and like not very interesting. So they really do liven things up, and it's fun. And the fact that they're actually also capable in what they're doing, they're good at what they do. And it's just a fun ensemble that they keep for, I don't know how much it goes going forward, but they keep for these 2 movies. Yeah. The crew that Hobbs is after. And then Hobbs is, he's got a beard in one movie, no beard in the other. Like,
well, he's got a beard in both, but his beard is much shaggier in Fast 5.
The first one, it looks like a fake beard.
It's
it looks like a Halloween store disguise. Like,
well, because it hangs low.
Yeah.
It's trimmed. He's got a goatee in 6, but it's much trim. It's much more close to the face.
So the first one, he always has a woman by his side, and the first time it's Elena, and the second time it's the turncoat.
Gina Carano's character,
yeah, Riley something. And so, I just want to be. I also think it's both funny, but also I appreciate it because how understanding Mia and Elena are. First of all, of both of them just being like, yeah, go do this thing. Like, Mia's just like, you know, normally the role of this kind of role calls for the wife / girlfriend to be like, no, you promised you were out of this life. And they kind of be like, but these, just to get over that, these women are like, yeah, whatever. Like it's family, go find Letty, go do the thing. And then Elena is even super more understanding because she and Dom are a couple, but once Letty's in the picture, she's like, go with God. Like, like,
well, that's over.
Yeah, well, that's over. Yeah,
your girlfriend's miraculously alive.
I always knew that. Yeah, I always knew that. I was gonna lose him to a ghost.
Right.
But you know, if you believe the essentially the idea that both of them are each other's second choice because she lost her husband, and they were just like, yeah, this will do. So,
right. Why not? Yeah. So Fast Five, obviously, like escalates things to this huge level, becomes a huge action movie. Really fun stuff in that movie. I definitely love the. It was in the trailers, but I do love the big train robbery at the beginning that culminates in the Dom and Brian like stoically, you know, as the car flies off to what should be their death. They're just so like, we got this. Their expression.
Yeah, we do what we do best. We improvise
as they stand up and jump. Also, of course, not that the earlier movies, you know, you had to really work to be like, oh wow, a lot more people should be killed in these street races, but now hundreds of people should be killed.
Well, so I was marking the progression of this because I wanted to talk about this too, which is that you start with, yeah, things are dangerous, and Brian shouldn't be doing what he's doing. First of all, Brian is a terrible cop and a terrible person. He's not. But
then by the fifth one, he is a full criminal. Which is
interesting. I know. He's at Sean levels. He's not at Sean levels of unlikability, but by the time in 4, when the street race when Braga's testing them and is like, the street race is actually no streets are closed. You're going to have to race through real people, and he almost murders somebody. Like going through an alleyway, but they move out of the way in the right time, and he like literally they have him go, phew, like I almost killed a person.
And so an innocent person.
So they go from that to, okay, it's a big step up, but they go from that to the prisoner bus flip at the beginning of 5.
Kill all
the newscaster Perd Hapley says miraculously nobody died. All right. First of all, also, was Magneto a part of their crew? Because how did the bus flip over that car and that car didn't move? That was like, because there was a third car, Eric. It was Brian and Mia, and who the fuck knows is in that third car?
No, we did know from the end of 4. They didn't show it for whatever reason. The beginning of 5, it's the 2 Puerto Rican guys that are part of the crew.
Oh, okay. So they weren't just out of nowhere. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's funny that I thought about that rewatching. Like, they show them discernibly at the end of 4 in the third car. They don't at the beginning of 5.
I liked my Magneto answer better, but whatever.
Okay, yeah, sure. One of them might have that power. We don't know.
That's true. Yeah. So then now we're getting to a point where it's like, you just really have to believe that honking a horn will clear anyone out of the way that you want to move. If something goes through a building, an office building, people are just going to dive out of the way.
Sure.
Like the whole end of 5 when they're dragging that safe down the streets of Rio and it like crashes through a bank. Like, not only is no one on the street being killed, but nobody in the buildings are being killed either. It's just one of those things where it took some jumps to get there, but it did build it up starting in 4, I think. Yeah, then it's just like everyone should really be dying on these streets. Like, it's there's no way. And whatever agency that Hobbs works for, whatever they call it, I can't remember, can really, I don't know what they are. Are they S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because they can go anywhere. I bought them going to Rio, whatever. But then like they show up and they could just walk into a crime scene in Moscow. Like,
or London
or anywhere, like, and they have authority somehow, and it's like, this is S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right. Pretty much. He works for the Diplomatic Security Service.
Sure. That's fine. I mean, whatever. I
think it really exists, but I don't think it has the abilities these films show it to be. Also, by the way, we talked about Brian, how the fact that Brian, was a disgraced cop who then came back as an FBI agent. Elena is a Brazilian cop who then leaves to run off with a criminal, and then she becomes a DSS agent. She's like with Hobbs at the end of 6.
Well, I mean, she did work with him in 5, so it's not like
she
he
did,
would.
she did.
I believe him letting her back in with.
And I guess if we're saying they have shield type powers, that they can just be like, it's okay that she ran off with a guy who stole like millions of dollars.
Even though I had terrible instincts about that Gina Carano character earlier, I think that and again, speaking to continuity, bringing back Fast 4 in a big way, that
yes.
Braga came back, but also. I don't remember the agent's name, but Shea Wiggum's character came back as the asshole. Stasiak, right? Yeah. Actually, I should remember that because that's a wrestler name, Stan Stasiak.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, enjoyable movies with some really, really impressive, fun. If you let go and don't believe a lot of shit, then like action scenes. These are really impressive. Way more. I know that was sort of the hat that this series hung its hat, or the hook this series hung its hat on. But I didn't know. Like I said, I thought that tank thing was the end of the movie, and then I realized, oh no, there's an entirely separate action set piece that we have to get through before 6 ends.
Right.
Involving a plane and the forever runway. But yeah, there's a flying headbutt. There's they do a version of the Heart Foundation's Heart Attack.
Oh, they do. That's great.
Like he lifts him up and then he clotheslines him. Yeah. So it's all wrestling related too. Yeah.
It has the great line. How did you know there would be a car there to break our fall?
I didn't. He's like, that's just the way this works out for us. I don't know. This is their Truman Show moment when they don't realize they're in a movie. Right. It's like
they got a little meta with Owen saying, how does a guy start out stealing DVD players, end up pulling $1 million heist in Rio? With how this series has escalated, from the first one. We didn't mention Clara Paget from Black Sails is the Brian on Owen Shaw's team when they're making the analogy between who everyone is.
Is she really? I didn't even know that. No, I did not.
Oh yeah, I had I know her from something. What is it? And then I was like, oh, I know her with red hair, wearing a pirate's costume.
Man, she was young when she was in Black Sails, anyway.
Yeah.
So she must have been 16 here. I don't know what the hell.
She's Owen Shaw. She's Owen Shaw's evil teen recruit.
Okay, I want to say one more thing before I have you talk a little bit about the tension between Rock and Vin and Tyrese.
Yeah.
Which is that what they want at the end is to go home, pardons, et cetera, and then he gives the house address. Yeah. And I'm like, did Hobbs kick out a family?
I would believe Dom being Dom, they would have paid $1 million, way overpriced amount of money. They're still millionaires, right?
All right.
So I thought about that too. I think that's probably your answer is we want to go back to our house. We want to be full pardoned, that we can go back to Los Angeles, and then they generously paid the current owners of that house.
Okay. I still like my Magneto answer. I like mine better, where Hobbs goes in, guns drawn, and orders everyone out on the streets, including children.
Right. In general, it's amusing and impressive how at this point they really dive into the history of the series. Not only do they bring back all these characters, they make and Vince coming back in a big way in the 5th one. They make Hobbs makes a reference to the time that Dom beat a man half to death with a socket wrench, which was his backstory in the first movie that was never mentioned again after the first movie.
Right.
So they really go deep on pulling it all back in a way. Which again, it was funny because someone tweeted you when we were tweeting about watching all these movies. They go, just have him start with the 5th one. I'm like, you can't start with the 5th.
I know. I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd be totally.
It discernibly gets better at the 5th one, and it's a totally different type of series. But the fact that it is pretty tight continuity at this point, you need to have all that history with you.
So is this the moment? By 5 and 6, is this the moment when tensions start brewing between The Rock and the others? Because, all I did was read Wikipedia about Fast 5 and how Vin wanted Rock. Originally the Hobbs character was supposed to be a Tommy Lee Jones fugitive type character. but after somebody suggested it on his Facebook page, like Vin was like, yeah, he should be a big buff dude, and like I can get into big fights with him, and I want The Rock. Sort of brought The Rock in, but then I know that things soured. Is this when it did, or did it happen by 7, or what was the deal?
So I don't know the answer to that either, but I will say this. I feel safe. I can tell you this, that it's like, okay, by 8 for sure, they're not filming scenes together, right? And they creatively get around the fact that they don't want to film scenes together. I can't remember if that's in 7, but I think so too. But did you note the extremely odd fakey shot near the end of Hobbs and Dom when they say their goodbye when Hobbs comes by at the LA house?
No.
There's a very bad composite shot of it's weird composite shot of the two of them when they have like a big final goodbye to each other at the house. And look, who knows? Maybe it was just like it was a reshoot and they couldn't get them at the same time. But I also wonder, like, again, speculation. It's pretty much out there that they had this feud, but during 6, did things go bad? Because they definitely filmed stuff together in 6. Like the beginning, there's a bunch of stuff where they're together.
They have a fight scene on the plane together. Yeah.
So I'm just wondering if maybe that final scene, again, movies aren't shot in order, but maybe either they did shoot that at the end or that was a reshoot and they needed them. There's a very awkward shot of them that they're clearly not together. So it seems like by 7 that this rift had happened.
And is it really stemming from, well, first of all, these movies started doing gangbuster business and bigger budgets, but also way bigger box office.
Yeah. So let me mention, I didn't do my box office thing. And so, Fast 5, Fast 5 made 626 worldwide, huge leap, especially overseas, right? And of course, that's the thing. It's all about the foreign box office now. And it was like, more than $200 million jump from the 4th one, which had been the biggest. So suddenly a much bigger international audience is coming into these movies. I saw a quote from one of the producers saying that, because there's always going to be fans, and is always a sect of the fandom, Matt, that is mad that these movies have moved away from the street racing aspect. But basically one of the producers, being pretty candid, said when it was focused on street racing, there was a kind of a cap on how big it could be as a box office thing versus a huge action spectacular, basically opened up
cars,
this series.
Yeah, exactly.
Cars are always involved, but that the things happening are not street racing.
I mean, I feel as long as people are going fast and they're furious, that the premise keeps, right?
It's still living up to that title.
Yeah.
And then the 6th one, even bigger, $788 million. Another like $125 million leap overseas. So these movies suddenly this became a much big. It became it went from being a successful series to like a legit blockbuster series with these two movies.
And I know a lot of the tension stems from the fact that The Rock does a lot of things. He's the busiest dude on the planet, and he's always got things going. And I know that things with the franchise were being delayed because he had other movies to film and other TV shows to do and stuff like that, and it was delaying things. Is this also the time, was it Fast 5 or Fast 6, that he did his SNL franchise Viagra song?
It was like around 6 probably, because at that point he'd already, he'd done G.I. Joe and Fast 5.
But he also jumped into the Journey to the Center of the Earth, right? Franchise, whatever the sequel was to that. I can't remember what it was, but yeah. Yeah,
so look, I mean, you got two men, one, look, let's face it, Vin Diesel has kind of like this cheesy persona. He's like these weird Instagram posts. He's very, he doesn't always seem like he's like in on the joke, right? Like he's so sentimental to the point of it seeming like earnest to the point of it seeming like, are you for real, dude? Now,
well, you think he's probably earnest to the point where like he sees these movies as, like, this is a deep character, right? Like
because this is when he will, and like he starts to refer to it as like the saga, that which it is and it isn't, right? And he gets very like deep about it. Dwayne Johnson also, bigger than life persona. Also, will certainly brag all the time about every one of his movies is going to be like this huge, amazing movie, and then some of them are and some of them are not. Clearly, two guys with huge egos, right? Like even though like you could say Dwayne Johnson has the more likable persona,
huge ego, but for everything I know about Dwayne Johnson is that he is kind and considerate and holds everyone on the set, everyone in no matter what position they are, and anyone like in high regard. Right. And he's the person who after 12 hours of doing press junkets is still on and engaged when you walk in the room to ask your questions he's heard a million times.
Oh yeah.
He knows
the one time I talked to the dude, which was like a round table on a set visit. He went longer than they want. Like they were trying to pull him, and he was like, "Oh, I want to keep talking." Like it's like
he's great.
Never
like that's the thing. Yeah. It's like he's great. And like when I interviewed him, when I flew down to Panama for the TV show he was doing, like he spent the whole first couple minutes wanting to talk to me about my tattoo. It's like whether he knows this game, which is like he makes you feel important, he makes you feel seen, and that's a big deal. So yeah, he's got an ego, but it's also like he has that credo of like be the hardest worker in the room, be the person who arrives first and the last person to leave, and so on and so forth. So he's got a very hard driving work ethic.
Oh yeah, crazy workaholic, right? I mean, it's like ridiculous how much. I mean, I've said this before about him, but it's like this is the guy who his HBO series that he stars in feels like a weird little side project, right? Like it doesn't work like that usually.
Yeah, that he films while doing 10 other things.
Right. So who knows? Because he out and out was saying like basically calling out without naming names, but you're like, who's he talking about? He was talking about like sort of diva-esque, like coming to the set late sort of stuff by the eighth one. You assume aimed at Vin. So who knows? It's no one. Neither of them have been super candid about it because they can't, and they still have to put up a like, hey, everything's cool. Tyrese didn't. Of course, Tyrese got much more like, don't do this about Hobbs and Shaw even existing as a movie. You will ruin the family. I don't know.
Well, is The Rock being the Owen Shaw here? And it's like he doesn't care about the family?
Right. Maybe he doesn't care about the family in the way that Vin and Tyrese care about the family.
All right. Let's wrap this up here. This is a lot of talk about two big movies, and we didn't get to everything. We weren't going to, but we should say that we're going to try to do one because Eric's got a very busy Comic-Con next week that doesn't start till Wednesday, so maybe we'll try to do one on Tuesday that is a Extreme Rules / Raw recap, and that'll
and Furious 7.
Oh my God! Was this 3.5 hours? This one? Let's see. All right. Well,
so watch Furious 7 this weekend, everyone.
So our family's getting bigger. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. Cut to Dom Toretto and Shakma. Let's talk about the biggest twist I've ever seen or experienced since Lost Through the Looking Glass 2, which is that the first 5 or 10 minutes of this movie are still before the final scene of the last movie.
Yes,
because I'm watching the first part of this movie being like, wait, didn't he already get? We're now leaped years ahead of Han dying. Jack's already going to some sort of preschool, and because I was really confused because it opens with Deckard Shaw checking on his brother Owen in the hospital
in the aftermath of
and Furious. I was like, he waited 2 years to do this?
Right.
Why did he wait so long to check on his brother? By the way, what did I say last week about how far Owen fell from that airplane, and that I bet your ass Giselle survived too?
Owen
guess who survived? Guess who survived? Owen. Guess who also survived? Giselle. Check on it. Nobody went back to check on her. She just limped away.
I will say there is a deleted scene you can watch on the Blu-ray with Gal Gadot, though it is not showing her a live scene. It's actually tying her into what happened to Letty after her amnesia, and Giselle's kind of tangential involvement because she was working for Braga, who was working for Shaw at the time, and so they had this scene that went into this very complex mythology added to it with that.
Before we talk about Paul Walker's death, which was sort of the biggest story from this movie, aside from,
and of course, we'll never know what the movie would have been like if that didn't happen,
Well, I'll ask you about that because you'll probably have more news about that. But big notable things. This is, we talked about it last week. This is apparently when the rift started sort of for real between Rock and Vin. And also the switch in directors after 4 movies. It was no longer Justin Lin. It was James Wan.
Who was making his big leap from low budget horror to mega blockbuster.
From the Saw and Insidious movies, yeah?
And Conjuring. But those 3.
Wait, he did Insidious and Conjuring? Wow,
He did the first two of both, which I forget that he did the first two of both of those.
Is that how he got? Is that how he got Patrick Wilson in Insidious 2? Then I guess so. Okay.
Yeah, but he did. Patrick Wilson stars in both Insidious 1 and 2 and Conjuring 1 and 2. And
I didn't know he was in the first Insidious. Okay.
And he's in an Aquaman, so he's a big James Wan player. But also, I forgot that James Wan actually did Conjuring 2, I believe, in between Furious 7 and Aquaman. It was a palate cleanser, like, let's go back to a low-budget movie he did in between his mega billion-dollar movies.
Yeah. And then, so between that and then Paul Walker dying, now you tell me, halfway through production?
About halfway through production, yes.
Okay. So I wasn't sure if it was just like he missed the last month of shooting or what was going on. You know, I read afterwards that it was really a lot of shots that were body doubles with using his brothers who were of similar build of his and then putting his face on them. I was happy he got to be there to do a few of the scenes that I felt he needed to be there, like the phone call with Mia, certain emotional
Even though I think
scenes.
that they changed a lot of what Mia said, I'm guessing.
Oh, on the other end? Okay, yeah, that would make sense.
Like, for instance, like, here's the thing. Based on his lack of specifics, I think they added that she was pregnant again. Because it's like, he just has a, like, grabbing his head reaction, but he never says, like, wow, or, like, I'm going to be a dad again. Or like never talks to Dom about it.
Okay, so at the beginning of the movie when she's telling Dom she's pregnant again, that was changed.
I believe so.
Okay, I get it. Yeah. This was the movie where, okay, so Owen's brother Deckard Shaw of the upcoming Hobbs and Shaw movie.
Yes.
Played by Handsome Rob, played by Jason Statham.
Played by Trisha's number one crush, Jason Statham.
Who is also in a tag team with Oni Lorcan.
Yeah. Trisha's number one tag team.
Is out for revenge for not, and again, didn't even kill Owen. They just put him up in a hospital for, God, okay. So now I'm confusing myself now.
Yeah.
A couple years go by.
Yes.
Then he visits Owen in the hospital.
I think you could say, okay, when does he visit?
When I say
Owen
visit, the opening shot is him checking on his brother in the hospital, and then it pulls back to reveal he and his mercs have kind of killed everyone in the hospital, which is weird because he tells before he leaves the room, he's like, make sure you keep him alive. And then he leaves and you realize he's murdered and destroyed the entire facility. I'm like, how are they supposed to tend to him when
he left those two people?
They're going to tend to everyone else, by the way. All the cops are going to rush to that scene. And yeah, I don't think it's going to play out the way Deckard wants it to play out. Anyway.
Here's what I think.
And then he finds out everyone who was responsible because he goes to Hobbs' office in LA and hacks into his computer, or basically just sits down and types who did this and finds out everyone who did it. Then he starts revenging on them, which then that starts the end of Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
Because then he starts killing them and then he blows up Dom's house, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a couple, because at that point, Brian's driving his kid to school. So yeah, he kind of takes a few years before Deckard comes out of the shadows, right?
Yeah. I'd say at least 3 years, right?
Okay, so, well, it's funny because I don't know who says it. If it's Kurt Russell's Mr. Nobody or somebody says it, but they're like, let me tell you who Deckard Shaw is. I'm like, he's a shadow. I'm like, Deckard Shaw is the least shadowy person I've ever seen in my life. He not only does he waltz into a hospital with everyone with their guns blazing and destroys everything and everyone with bullets and grenades, but Hobbs walks in and he's on his computer. He's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Hello, I'm Deckard Shaw. This is not a shadow."
right.
And then he's cruising by Han, or whose funeral are they at?
It's Han's funeral.
Yeah, he's cruising by. And he's trying to draw Dom out, but I'm like, this is not a shadow thing. He's desperately in their face. And I'm just saying, he's not a ghost.
Well, he's come out of the shadows because of his thirst for revenge. Yeah, it's so funny that it's like the whole looping timeline thing and the fact that Tokyo Drift became suddenly this very pivotal central point to the series. Thinking about the fact that 9 years, again, it's funny because you're watching these movies close together. In the real world, Tokyo Drift opened 9 years before Furious 7. So that's how long it took to get to Han's funeral, Matt. From Han died in 2006 in a movie, and in 2015 they laid him to rest.
And then Sean came.
And Sean,
he had to interact with that disgusting idiot.
And now we got to see Lucas Black, 9 years older, still playing 17, which is my favorite thing.
I mean, it makes it. I mean, it does. Again, it lends more to the end of Tokyo Drift because Dom doesn't really come out to race the Drift King. They don't show the race, thank God.
Right.
They just he's there to inquire about Han and like who killed him and what the fuck happened. And because of that, he has to talk to this grotesque moron.
So Han was hanging out with you?
It's like, whoa.
Things really got dark.
Someone lowered their standard. Was he using drugs heavily? Was he okay? What was his mental state? Why were you his best friend?
As his old friend, I want to know why you were his new friend.
Yeah, how are you the new me? This is not track.
Well, Sean finally returned with which Matt, a lot of people are eagerly awaiting, because everyone was waiting to see how they were going to connect all this stuff up once Han became this major player in the movies after, and they had to be prequels.
Yeah, see you later, teenager.
Right? Go back to high school. And as someone tweeted to you, it is very funny that this decision also makes it this bizarre thing that because they in no way did they ever try to not update the technology in phones in the movies made after, even though they're technically prequels. So yeah, why is Tokyo Drift exist in a world where this group of kids in Tokyo are really into retro tech? Who knows?
I blame Sean.
They blame Sean. Yes, could be Sean's fault. So this movie is a weird one that some of the things I think feel really weird in this movie, but I think that's also the Paul Walker factor. This very tragic thing happened that I think it makes it really strange, the movie, because they had to finish the movie without him. They wanted to still give him an arc. And I can only assume, I don't know the specifics here. It seems like the movie was always going to, and it makes sense if you even see the beginning of Fast Furious 6, like this movie was going to have that Brian's storyline would be like, oh, he feels like, now he's a family man, but he's lost a part of himself. And how can he reconcile that, what he was with what he is? Now they had to change it to be like, this movie will be like Brian leaving this life behind. But they have to do this without Paul Walker. So because there's a lot of what were you gonna say?
Well, because this time Mia, and this was on the phone too.
Yeah.
This time she's like, oh no, it wasn't on the phone. Is this when he was leaving for the first time? I can't remember. But all the times in the past when she's like, do what you gotta do. Now all of a sudden she's like, after this we're done.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, now we're done after everything? She said that a bunch of times, but then she always takes it back. And it's like, yeah, just go after him or do whatever.
Yeah.
So this time they had to be like, and it's not even like we're done. It's like, you go do this extremely dangerous, crazy thing, then we're done. So she's still pretty like lenient. But anyway.
Yeah. But it's just this strange thing where, because this tragic situation, they can't have Brian really talk himself. Like there's a lot of Mia and Dom talking about him, or they're talking to him. And they have this minimal footage that's either Paul Walker or Paul Walker's brother and digital stuff to like give him these minimal responses. So it's like, just this strange thing that I think gives the movie a disconnect with a lot of the Brian stuff because he's got a big storyline, but he's not fully a participant in it, that it's a lot of talking about him or to him happens in the film.
Yeah, he's just a pawn of the gods. It's like Heracles. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, again, and also like of course I feel, nothing but sympathy for the fact that they had to, the circumstances of finishing this movie where they've lost their friend and their, guy who they've worked with now for like, better part of 15 years when this happened. But God, it just must have been so weird because, it's a Fast and Furious movie and it is one dealing with like, revenge over our friend who died, who has like, they go to Han's funeral and it's like, there's like some weighty stuff that it's like made more weighty, of course, that, Paul Walker died he didn't die making the movie. He died while they were in production, but it had nothing to do with the production of the movie.
I mean, I teared up at the end. It was emotional because first of all, the shots,
me too.
the shots of him looking at at Dom from his car, Brian,
Yeah.
were obviously some of the ones that were digitally altered.
Yes.
Because they used the same smile and the same turn away laugh and expression. You could see that it's not him. And yeah, first of all, it's a sad, goddamn tragic thing that happened, you know?
Yeah.
Second of all, what we addressed last week about Vin Diesel, like you said, you said it I get it what you said, like he's not in on the joke, but it's like more or less like he's not in on these movies being silly popcorn movies like we see them. He sees them as actually, you know, like it's like he believes the family thing. He believes the family thing as much as Dom Toretto does.
Right.
So I felt really sad in that final scene for Vin Diesel. You know, obviously Dom, because he's saying about it to his friend, but for Vin Diesel, the actor, yeah, he lost somebody he made, at that point now 5 movies with. Maybe. I don't know if I'm counting right. But, yeah, and somebody, as we've said, who really does feel whatever emotions he feels them very strongly, and whether or not we, feel the same way about the movies as he does, he definitely sees them as important, and whether or not they're important and life-changing to him, but he sees them as important objectively, and as an objective importance. And so, yeah, it's like he's obviously going to feel very strongly for both his friend, for the franchise, for everything. So you feel that weight in those final moments, and it's very emotional.
Oh, absolutely. It completely is. I mean, it was, there was a lot of people like sniffling up in opening night. And of course they had to do this very tricky thing, which is, they are writing the character Brian out, but it's so intertwined with Paul Walker's death, and they don't try to hide that. It's like, why are we seeing this montage of scenes focused on Brian specifically? It's on, why is this, sad song playing? It's like, because we're saying goodbye to someone who died. The character didn't die, but we're going to basically acknowledge, it's like this it's a weird thing. I do think they made it work. It all blended together, but it's a very sort of strange without having them turn to the camera and say, "We miss you, Paul." It's aimed at Brian, but it's like they're acting like he's dying, but the character is not. It's a very, I've never quite seen a series have to kind of handle something like this, No,
you're right.
Because of course I totally get it. I totally get that, I'm sure they had to talk about everything. How are we going to finish this movie? And I'm sure someone says, do we kill Brian? Like, is Brian killed? And I'm sure they had a million things from the fact that Han, like this movie's already dealing with their revenge over Han's death, to the fact that he did die in a car accident, even though, again, not, making the movie.
And the fact that he has a kid in the movie.
Yeah.
And leave a kid fatherless. And also just because he did die in real life, there would be sort of a weird grossness to it. Like to kill off his character in the movie, it would feel icky in kind of a nebulous way. You couldn't put your finger on it, but it just doesn't feel quite right to do that.
Right.
And I want to send you on your Comic-Con way, but I want to mention a few things from this movie, which is, crazy stunts, a lot of the stuff,
parachuting cars.
Well, a lot of stuff was done with very minimal digital effects. We talk about something like Fury Road. Well, this is sort of a situation where a lot of these stunts were done practically. James Wan basically stated like he knows that people could tell the difference between like CGI cars and something we were talking about, the cartoony aspects of Too Fast, Too Furious, where it's like this just like he just demolition derbied the shit out of this movie, and it's all there on screen. It works, and parachuting cars, cars leaping from buildings in Abu Dhabi, skyscrapers in Abu Dhabi, like he leaps through basically to 2 separate buildings. Just good stunt work. Twitter spoiled me about the rock bottom that Rock delivered to Jason Statham when Hobbs first meets Shaw. What else here? Oh, Natalie Emmanuel, right? Is that her name?
Yeah, Ramsey joins.
Yep. Ramsey joins as the hot hacker.
The hot hacker, yep.
And
now there's 2 hackers.
Ludacris kind of hot too, and he could fight. So two hot hackers.
They give him hot.
2 guys pushing.
Right.
And Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey because Michelle Rodriguez now for 2 movies in a row gets to fight like
Fights an MMA.
like an MMA like notable, and from Gina Carano to Ronda Rousey this time around, and I think I knew it at the time that she was in this movie, but it was something like going into this blind, not reading up on anything really before I watch it. I was like, oh, okay. Michelle Rodriguez doing it. The return of Race Wars at the beginning of them.
Hector comes back from
Hector
the first
comes
movie.
back, gets punched in the face.
Yeah.
And I mean, it made $1.5 billion.
Yeah, so that's something I wanted to talk about, which is like, this series was like 5 and 6, as we talked about, like pushed the series so much bigger, both obviously on screen, but also the overseas box office was jumping big time with 5 and 6. And then, so it's interesting because 7 makes $1.5 billion. And it's funny because I see like the most cynical people say, oh, it made that because of Paul Walker's death. I'm like, I guess you have this weird extra macabre thing, but the series was clearly going in this direction of we're going to break $1 billion. Like, it's just getting bigger. Like what they're selling, the world is buying.
Okay. I want to ask you a question too.
Yeah.
Before we sign off and before you say your final thoughts, I want to ask you, do you think what this series became, especially in 6 and 7, that this basically became the A-Team franchise that never happened?
You know what? That is a good analogy. It is kind of the A-Team franchise that never happened. Yeah, it does kind of fill that role.
With a lot more cars than the A-Team would have used, but still, like at this point, they're doing heists, they're doing cons, they're stealing, they're doing all the things, they're rescuing. They're evading
capture. That's a
capture.
good analogy because
they're out for revenge.
It's like there's the past comes back. Because Fast and Furious and Mission Impossible, are kind of these two like ongoing dominant action series that have both gotten like bigger in scale as they've gone on. Fast and Furious certainly, became much more like into a spy movie. I mean, like there's elements of spy movies and they deal with Mr. Nobody and characters that are in the spy world, but they're still not spies per se. But I like the A-Team analogy because it is like that, like, tongue in cheek, but with likable characters nonetheless.
Especially when Mr. Nobody came in is when I started to think about it because it reminded me of the A-Team. It reminded me of what was it? The comic book movie with The Losers?
Was that with Chris Evans and...
Yeah, because you remember Jason Patrick's sort of shady turned villain, CIA character in that movie. That's when it started. It was like, oh, this is like those movies, and less like basically like we were talking about last week, the street racing movies these movies started as. But at this point, this is like the Impossible Missions Force or whatever. This is the A-Team. Right. This is the people you call who, when you don't want something on the books, but it has to get done, and everyone's
go to any part of the world.
Yeah, and everyone has sort of a specified-ish role on the team. So, that's what I was thinking about a lot with this movie, too. So,
my other thing I wanted to mention is kind of things I forgot about last week, but I can tie it into this week, which is just the titling and the fact that Fast 5, they called it Fast 5. They brought back a number, but they wrote it out. It was FIVE. And it's funny because it was called Fast 5, and then it's like, okay, well, Fast 5, they should call the next one Furious 6. And if you look at the opening credits of that movie, it is called Furious 6. But then they released it with Fast and Furious 6 as its like advertised title. And then they went to Furious 7, but the 7, like Fast 5, Matt, is written out in the actual movie. It's SEVEN.
I noticed that, yeah. And then when you rent it, it's the number 7. Yeah, it's weird.
Yes, unlike Fast and Furious 6 and Furious 7 both have different titles when you watch the movie than they're advertised as. Much like Friday the 13th, A New Beginning is the title when you watch it, but Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning is the title that it was sold as.
That's interesting information. You know what else is interesting information?
What?
This is an hour-long podcast now.
Of course it is. Of course. And let me get two last thoughts out about songs, which is I forgot to mention last week how great the opening credits of 6 is, where it's like that montage through the whole series set to a very catchy song that kind of takes you through. They skipped Tokyo Drift because it hasn't happened yet. Yeah. But otherwise it's a very cool opening. And then the fact that 7, I did like that when they go to Tokyo to meet Sean, they play the song from the opening credits of Tokyo Drift that played in that pretty cool montage going into the school at the beginning of Tokyo
Well, to be
Drift.
fair, that's the song that plays when anyone ever lands in Tokyo in real life.
Right, okay. It all works together.
That's just what you hear when you go to Tokyo. That's
Yeah.
So that's just true to life. But anyway, that has been our Furious 7 talk, and we did manage to squeeze in a podcast this week. So we'll probably be back. I don't know what your schedule. We haven't even talked about this, but I'm assuming we're back next week.
Yeah. We'll be back next week, Thursday or Friday. Yeah.
To do Fate of the Furious, and so a little longer gap than usual because we're doing it a little early this week. I probably won't release this right now. I'll probably wait till morning. So Wednesday morning,
Do that.
Should be getting this, and everything is possible, but nothing is real. R.I.P. Paul Walker and Shakma.
Shakma.
We've come to the end of a race here, Eric. We've raced our quarter mile, and we have come to the end.
8 quarter miles.
I know. There's no more movies released. This is the last basically released movie that we're going to talk about in the Fast and Furious franchise. Hobbs Shaw is coming out just a few days. Yeah. So we'll dig into all that. I really appreciated how Fast 8 or Fate or Fate of the Furious really did build up the bickering and snarky rapport that they carry into Hobbs and Shaw. Like, I was like, how are they going to go from what it was in 7 to Hobbs and Shaw? And this movie really bridged that. So,
well, the stuff in prison is like a pilot for Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, basically, this was a backdoor pilot for Hobbs and Shaw. Having Brian no longer around, sadly, because of Paul Walker's death, opened the door for something like basically that. They did fill the kind of the square-jawed white bread role with Scott Eastwood. Scott, right?
Yeah, which to me, I was like, whatever with that character. It was so strange. It's like, here's a new white guy.
It was weird, this being the first one, aside from Tokyo Drift, not to have Brian in it.
Yes.
That it was like, oh, Dom, this is Dom's chance to really be the hero and take center stage. But then what they did with him was they had him, basically become an inadvertent mole in the enemy's plot because he gets roped in and blackmailed into helping the enemy, unable to communicate with any of his team. I feel like he could have left a note on the fridge and Cypher wouldn't have seen it because Cypher is all about like the digital world. Yeah, like if he just went analog with it and left like a Post-it, he's like, by the way, everything I'm doing, I'm being blackmailed to because I got a kid.
Right. By the way, and it's the second time in this series that someone comes up to Dom and says, "You're going to work with me," and he says, "No, I won't." And then they show him a picture of something he loves because it happened with Letty with Hobbs in the 6th one. When he's like, "Oh, you're gonna," so someone's always like, "I'm not gonna," and he's like, "Yes, you will," and they show him a photo.
What if the photo's just like of a good-looking slice of Boston cream pie?
I get this.
He's like, "Hell yeah, I'm in." I think that so this was a crazy movie. Even though it didn't have Mr. and Mrs. Spottish in it, this was a crazy movie. It didn't make much sense. It felt a little, I don't know, felt a little emptier than most. Maybe because it didn't have Brian and Mia. I'm not sure. It was interesting at the beginning. They sort of do a tribute to Brian's move with the nitrous, like a tribute to the Buster. And then at the end, he names his kid Brian, which is weird because at the end, definitely, even though they made a vow never to bring Brian and Mia back into this life, it did feel like the ending, because they had won, was a situation where Brian and Mia would have been in attendance at the dinner. Yeah. So it was like at the end, it almost, because you name your kid Brian, you don't do that unless somebody's dead, really. It's like,
it's a really, again, we talked about the end of the 7th one where, of course, the 7th had this extremely difficult task of paying tribute to Paul Walker while not killing off Brian. And it definitely kind of broke the 4th wall in a way that I think people still like respected because we understood. And they did it again here because, it's like, of course, people say that there are exceptions, but most of the time you wouldn't name your kid after your friend if your friend was still alive. Most of the time.
It just feels like they made this promise not to bring Brian and Mia back into the world, but also it seems like that promise involves never speaking to them again, like never communicating. So it seems like I've named my child Brian. By the way, he doesn't know I have a kid or that I've named my kid after him. I'm telling you guys because I'm not. Right. Brian and I aren't talking right now.
Well, and getting a little ahead, Matt. We can talk. It's not a secret. Jordana Brewster's coming back for 9 and 10. And I'm very curious how they'll do that because, again, it's just this, the Paul Walker situation is there's no good way to handle it. I mean, it's such a shitty, sad thing. And for Jordana Brewster, it was a weird thing, right? Because they basically were like,
she had to leave the series. Yeah.
Right. We have to write you out of this $1 billion grossing series for this, sad reason. And now they're bringing her back. And now I'm very curious. We'll be like, oh, Brian's at home with the kids. But how do they do that exactly?
Well,
it's going to be
easy. She's an amnesiac villain.
Oh, okay. Oh, there you
She's
go.
now leading a massive global terrorist cell because she doesn't remember who she was. And
okay, and they don't want to tell Brian. They just want to fix their problem themselves.
Yeah, like no one tell Brian that his wife went out to go Mia be shopping, and then she never returned.
Right. We should also talk about how the convoluted thing that they did, which is a very amusing Fast and Furious thing, which is, again, because the series got very... a lot of backstory and because they did decide that the past movies mattered. Okay, so we found out in 6 that Braga, the villain from 4, his strings were really being pulled by Owen Shaw. So Owen Shaw was the true villain even from the 4th one. But in this movie in 8, we find out Cypher was pulling Owen Shaw's strings. So basically it's this escalating villain thing. There's been a person behind the person behind the person.
That she corrupted Owen.
And
that's why Deckard hates her. She ruined his brother. I don't know how she ruined his brother. But anyway, he just didn't like the jobs he was taking because it seemed like they were doing the same thing.
Right. But then, of course, because then they give you Deckard's noble history in this movie. That he was once a respected military officer that who had this heroic past.
Well, we knew that he worked for the government until they turned on him. I mean, we knew that
but Hobbs,
element.
Now Hobbs brings it up in much more oh wow, you did all these great things once upon a time before what happened.
It's including fighting people on an airplane, holding a baby while listening to the Chipmunks Christmas song, which was a great moment. The only thing that would have made that
a great moment.
The only thing that would have made it better is if they had actually chosen, because you could hear the little chipmunk song going on in the background, and at one point, whenever you sort of get more of a closer shot of the baby, it you hear the song louder, especially when he's beating someone's head into a table. They play that song. And so it's a funny juxtaposition of music and visuals. I wish they had played that song the entire fight. Loud as the score. Just that, and that would have been perfect if they had just committed to, I should say new director of the series too.
Yes.
F. Gary Gray, correct.
F. Gary Gray, who was coming off of Straight Outta Compton at the time, I believe.
And this came after Straight Outta Compton? I believe
this did. Okay. I believe this came a year or two after Straight Outta Compton.
F. Gary Gray has done. Didn't he do Italian Job? He's done a bunch of different
he worked
movies.
With Statham.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of different movies.
He'd already worked with Statham and The Rock on Be Cool.
Oh, so it's cool. Okay.
So Hobbs and Shaw he had history with. He was reuniting with both Hobbs and Shaw in this movie.
I had a harder time figuring out the exact timeline of Fast and Furious in this movie than I did with the whole Han storyline.
Sure.
When Elena was like, "I'm pregnant and here's your child," and I was like, "When did this happen?"
Here's what I think. Here's why I think this is a mess. But because basically the only thing that's a problem.
Ready to get back to wearing those fun, light, stylish summer dresses again? We are too. But no one feels stylish when you start chafing in the heat. Send love to your thighs with Undersummers. Our soft shortlets are uniquely designed to prevent chafing and stay put, without seams in your inner thighs and no compression fit. You'll stay comfortable all summer long. Go to undersummers.com and use the promo code SUMMERS for $10 off your first purchase.
Problem is that kid should be older, right?
Yes,
because
for sure.
Elena and Dom were a couple from 5 to 6. Then they find out Letty's alive, and at the end of 6, Elena and him split up, and she goes and joins Hobbs.
But she was like in a massive explosion while pregnant then.
Well, no, because that's when we get into the beginning of 7 and not being exactly clear the timeline of how long
you're
is
right.
it after.
Oh,
yeah.
This is awful.
The biggest problem is so let's pretend that all that stuff with the massive explosion was after her kid was born. But again, because we saw Brian and Mia's kid is like now a nursery school kid in 7. So, and he was born in 6. So certainly Elena and Dom's kid should also be like 3 or 4 at least. But he's like a baby that she hasn't given a name to. And that's what I was going to say is I think they reverse engineered because I think they really wanted to name that baby Brian, but they couldn't. It's like it's still a stretch that she hasn't given the baby a name yet, but it's impossible if the kid's like 4. So I think they're like, well, if it's still a baby, but that doesn't make sense timeline wise because that kid should be older. So you just have to pretend the baby is aging very, very slowly. It has a special condition that they're not going to talk about.
Is it genetically enhanced like Idris Elba's character in Hobbs and Shaw?
Look, possibly. I mean, because so that's the other thing. Of course, is the series has escalated. Obviously, the stunts got bigger, the situations got bigger and crazier. And in this movie, there's a submarine, there's cars that go on ice. Also, Hobbs like almost seems like he's to have super strength, like when he breaks his chains and like pushes Scott Eastwood up. The Rock is freaking strong, but that's like
even in what was it? I guess this all blurred together to me. 6.
Mm-hmm.
When he's interrogating the guy in the room, he's throwing him into walls.
Yes.
So he can throw people. It's just one of his things. He can throw people. I have a very important question for you, Hobbs related, though.
Mm-hmm.
Did the Red Dragons win their game? How do we not get closure on that?
I've got to believe the Red Dragons, that's his daughter's soccer team.
Yes.
I believe that there's no way that Luke Hobbs does not coach his daughter's team to absolute victory in every situation.
Just a squash match. It's like...
it's
really like 40 to nothing. Yeah, they just called the game after the first half.
Very embarrassing for that team. But has the trailers for Hobbs and Shaw show. We're about to like enter the full like cyborg super soldier era of this franchise. So this movie was Fate of the Furious was already leaning us there. Hobbs and Shaw will be like, we have like superpowers in this series now. Because everyone's joke mad is like they'll eventually go to space.
Hell yeah!
Who knows?
Hell yeah! Space cars.
Like if Armageddon was like we need the best drillers in the world, then why not the best drivers in the world?
Yeah, why can't they have race wars on the moon?
That's right. Space race wars.
Space race wars. It's like we need somebody. It's like we have the drillers to go onto the asteroid and deliver the nuclear device, but they need drivers. We don't have people to drive the drillers to where they need to drill, and they need to get there fast. So there you go. I think we've solved Furious 9 and 10, which Cena is currently. He appeared on Raw Reunion, and then he flew back to London to continue filming.
Right, and we don't know if he's a good guy, a bad guy. Of course, he could be a bad guy and then become part of the family because that's what seems to happen. Cypher is set up as this major new villain. Does that mean in the next movie they're teamed up? Who knows? The one thing, so Matt, I mentioned to you, it's like, there are a sect of people who, will never, and I understand, they will never get over the fact that Deckard Shaw murdered Han. And it was funny in Fate of the Furious because it's like they didn't want to directly deal with it. So they had Letty say, we haven't forgotten what you've done, but she doesn't articulate what he's done. And then it's like they mostly pair him with Hobbs, who would have the least personal connection to Han. I get it.
Yeah.
But it's like still like, because at the end it's like Dom shakes the hand of the man who murdered his friend. It's like, we're cool
it's weird. And it reminded me of Gotham a lot because as you go into seasons of Gotham, everyone has tried to kill everyone at some point. Right. And by season 3, they're all just laughing about it. Remember when you poisoned my friend? Remember when you did this and shot me in the head? That's basically what Fast and Furious is, where they just sort of acknowledge it and humorously sort of move along. And yeah, I don't know. It would be ethnically incorrect, but what if Cena is playing Brian Toretto, all grown up, because he is in fact genetically enhanced and he ages super quick?
Oh, so one kid ages super slow.
Yeah, well, he starts off. No, but he starts.
Oh, no, that is Brian. That is Brian.
Yeah.
Okay,
he starts off by Brian Marcos Toretto. He basically starts off aging super slow, but then once he gets like 3, he's like zooms up and he's a full grown adult now, and he's like, yeah, I'm part of the team.
I'm for it.
I'm saying he's Vin's son. Yeah.
I'm endorsing it. So we said goodbye to Elena. Cypher kills Elena. So they can still forgive Cypher, but it'll take a little work.
Is she dead though? She only got shot in the head.
I think she's dead.
I don't know. I still want people to check on Giselle.
Giselle should still be checked on. We got a cameo return from Leo and Santos, the wacky guys from 4 and 5 who we hadn't seen in a while. It turns out they were helping Dom behind the scenes.
They were helping him meet Helen Mirren.
Yep, and that's the thing. The Shaw family, of course, becomes this giant part of the series at this point. So Helen Mirren is introduced as Magdalene Shaw.
And then his sister will come into Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, Vanessa Kirby's playing their sister. We get the Mama Shaw there. And we should also talk about just, again, where this series went is insanity as far as like what it was, this sort of lower budget, mid-level, mid-performing movie series to one of the biggest franchises there are, to the point that two things about this movie. It's like, okay, we have, Helen Mirren and Charlize Theron joined the franchise in this series. In part 8 of Fast and the Furious, Helen Mirren wanted to be in these movies. She did interviews where she's like, I want to be in a Fast and Furious movie. And Vin Diesel saw her saying that, and they made it happen. And then Charlize Theron, I remember saying this when she was cast. It's like, there was if you said Charlize Theron was joining like Fast and Furious 4, it would have been like, what happened to Charlize? Whereas like here you understand like, oh, she wants to be in like, it's smart to be in like a big franchise movie. She's got this, great career, acclaimed career, but she's going to do Fast and Furious 8. So it's just so strange.
Fast and Furious is America's Harry Potter.
It is. If you haven't done one, what's wrong?
Every American actor is in a Fast and Furious movie.
Right. And it's just because they bring everyone back. So I saw this movie, Matt, in Orlando. It was actually the opening weekend of this movie was during Star Wars Celebration 2017, which is why I was in Orlando, and I saw it at downtown Disney, now called Disney Springs in Orlando, with a sold-out raucous crowd, and it was very crowd-pleasing. Like, the whole Deckard Shaw with the baby sequence, and people loving. But I also remember big cheer for the surprise return of Owen Shaw, which again is big cheer for the villain of Fast and Furious 6, who, while he directly didn't murder Giselle, responsible for her death. So it's just like, but
she's
we love
not
everyone.
Dead.
He should have had an offhand reference to that.
Speaking of the severe injuring of Giselle.
Yes.
I did like the fact that at the end, the whole chase on the ice with the submarine and everything, which was really cool. And Roman sliding on the door, being harpooned and dragged along. It was fun. Yes. They did mention right at the outset that they had 10 miles to go. Like, this is 10 miles. We have 10 miles to hit our destination. So we knew this could be a long drive and it could last a long time. It wasn't like the runway.
Because I forgot to say to you that, yes, everyone, again, it was like the never ending runway was a big, everyone liked to joke about. But this time, clearly established long path of ice. And we also got in this movie our second Game of Thrones cast member.
Tormund.
With Tormund as part of Cypher's crew. And Ramsey returned, now fully part of the group.
What did you call him, Tormund?
I don't know. Did I?
I don't know. It sounded very fancy the way you said it. Very too fancy for a wildling.
Right. Well, he changed over the years. And then, Kurt Russell was back. I have no idea if Kurt Russell or Scott Eastwood are in the next one, but I felt like the Scott Eastwood character was just a weird inclusion. Like it literally felt like they said, like, we need a new white guy with Paul Walker gone. And like, well, you don't. Like, you have this big group of characters I don't know why you need this other guy. And so,
just
yeah.
so he can cut loose and give them the cars at the end. That's why.
Yeah.
He didn't even join
He's like,
them.
"Hey, you guys are okay.
Yeah,
There you go.
You're okay by my way.
Because everyone's won over by the family, so it's just like another person to be like, eh.
It was weird to me that I guess he was wearing the mask because of the sparks, but when Dom in New York, in the New York scene, when he's stealing the nuclear football,
Crossbones.
Yeah, when he's Crossbones and he's got that cool mask and the big buzzsaw.
Yeah,
but then it's like, oh, he looks so cool, and then he just takes the mask off.
Yeah.
Well, if you're not trying to hide your identity, I don't know what he's doing, but it's like, I get that you're under there. Just keep that on. You look badass. Anyway.
Right. The last big thing we can talk about is, again, the Diesel Johnson feud, because this was the movie where it became public while they were filming. But also, we talked about it, but it's like, first of all, in Furious 7, I'm pretty sure they never filmed together. Obviously Dwayne Johnson's barely in Furious 7, I think, because of scheduling. But he has that one big scene with Dom when Dom goes to see him in the hospital that if you watch it now, I'm pretty sure they didn't film together. There's like 2 shots of them both in the same shot that I think were probably faked. But maybe they filmed that together, because I know on 8 they didn't film it all together. Like because the other thing is the end of Furious 7 when they revive Dom, when it's like he's dead but they revive him. I'm like, Dwayne Johnson was not there with them. Like they cut to him like relieved, and I'm like, oh yeah, he was there with them. This movie they were not filming together at all. And it's very pronounced. Obviously, there are scenes they're both in because it's like they're trying to catch Dom in that cool, like they're trying to harpoon him scene. But of course, they could have just shot everyone's car insert separately. The only shot they're in together where you see their faces is when Dom is walking away from Hobbs turned upside down, and it's like a reflection sort of thing. Like, okay, well, that was done in post. But it's really obvious in the final scene because they don't interact at that, like, when everyone is celebrating
at
together.
The dinner?
Yeah, they do not speak to each other. When Dom is shaking hands with the murderer of his friend Han, Deckard, you see Hobbs in the background from behind, so it's like a double or like intentionally inserted. And then when Dom makes his toast, Hobbs is at the other end of the table, so it's like they're never in the same shot together. So it's just a strange situation. I'm sure it was made for some interesting shooting days figuring out that.
Do you think Tormund, given his character's his love for Brienne in Game of Thrones, it was like, I will only act with very tall blonde former models, and that's why he's with Charlize Theron.
That is his demand. It's like I'm a big guy. I have a certain thing I like with my co-stars.
This is all I do. And that's
yes. So bring it to me. And then also we should mention that after 5 and 6 had these like big post-credit scenes teasing the future, 7 didn't, I think, completely understandably, because 7 had to, it was the like, we're dealing with Paul Walker's death. It would be kind of crass to be like, here's what's coming next. 8, though, do you know, Matt, about how there was a scene that was cut from the post-credit?
No, I looked for a post-credit scene. There were none. So
there was one filmed, and it was Hobbs and Shaw teasing their future, but they filmed it behind Vin Diesel's back. And then he, of course, found out about that. It's not like they could keep it a secret before the movie opened. And he had a fit, and they cut it.
Well, that's like Moxley filming his "I'm free from WWE" promo video while he was still employed in WWE.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, and we don't need to go. We can wrap up in a second. We don't need to go down too far down this well. But the producer of all the Fast and Furious movies, going back to the original, Neil H. Moritz, he is now in a huge lawsuit with Universal because he's been removed from the series from both Hobbs and Shaw and Fast 9 and 10, and he's suing them, and it's a whole big thing. But I don't know enough to say who I would side with in that situation. But it was funny because I was looking back because I knew about the post credit thing being cut. I looked back at an article about it today, and it said it was funny because Moritz was the one who was like kind of doing that. Like, he was like making sure, filming this sequence without Diesel knowing. And it's, at this point, of course, Diesel, producer on the series, it's, at the end, especially with Paul Walker gone, it's certainly like his series. He would have the most pull on it. So just a strange situation though, because Dwayne Johnson, I think we would both agree, has become a bigger star than Vin Diesel, but Fast and Furious is Vin Diesel's.
Fast and Furious needs Dom Toretto more than it needs Luke Hobbs, for sure. Yeah.
Right. So they were like, okay, Universal's like, we're going to do a spinoff. And obviously we saw it got public, with Tyrese especially posting all this, don't do this, you're going to destroy the family. stuff. So yeah, very. I always wonder where Ludacris is in this whole rip, because it seems like Vin and Tyrese have the big issues with Dwayne and vice versa. I noted, looking back, it's like, oh, in 6 they give Ludacris and Rock their own little, they go off to they turn the snobby guy into a buffoon in his underwear.
Yeah.
So maybe even back then, it's like Ludacris was the only of the guys he was getting along
Maybe
with.
Tej is in Hobbs and Shaw, and he like filmed his scene secretly, and then Vin doesn't know about it, and he's gonna throw a fit.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing, is that because now presumably, Statham doing this spinoff, now he's like, he must have like, he's now Team Johnson. So it was funny to see Helen Mirren is returning for Fast 9. Diesel announced her and Charlize are back, just because like, okay, Helen Mirren, they're not making her choose a side. She's getting to be in both. she's in Hobbs and Shaw and Fast 9.
She's like, look, guys, I'm in Team Entertainment. Like I just want to bring joy to the masses. I'm Helen Mirren.
That's right.
That's what she's all about. Well, that wraps up our final.
Wrap up feelings on your Fast and Furious journey, Matt.
Oh wow! I thought I was going to do that after Hobbs and Shaw, but I guess
we can wait.
I wasn't prepared for this. I wasn't prepared.
No. Let's wait 2 weeks.
I'm still mad at Deckard for killing Han. I haven't
Sure.
I too have not forgot about the things he's done.
Right.
If I want to state it vaguely. But yeah, no, I think I stand by what I kind of said last week, which is like, this became the A-Team series. That never happened. This became, whether you want to call it the USA's Harry Potter franchise or not, this became the over-the-top, more humorous Mission Impossible, which is what basically the A-Team was, that the A-Team never got a chance to be, with the camaraderie, the snark, the ball busting, the wild and crazy stunts, the over the top, villains, and it's not quite our James Bond, but it's definitely the A-Team that never was. But overall, it's very entertaining. This was a crazy film, like I said. Overall, just because the plot seems so forced a little bit, where it's like, I assumed what the picture was that she showed him. I mean, if it wasn't a nice slice of pie, it was like, oh, someone's pregnant, or it was a it was a sonogram, or it was a something or something. It just felt like there had to be a way that he could have tipped off his team.
Sure.
That what he was doing.
Well, and it turned out he tipped off those Leo and Santos. So
yeah, he told them. How come he couldn't tell anyone else?
Right.
Like in a coded message, or like maybe he like rigged a car so that the engine block was set up all wrong or something. I don't know cars. And like Letty looks at it and it's like, Dom would never like build a car like that. Something's wrong.
He wouldn't put this wire with that wire.
He would have left a clue. He would have left a clue. Yeah. Maybe he told Brian. Maybe he told Brian, and that's the only thing he told Brian in years.
tell someone. To me, it's a very fun series. The fact that the nature of it, the fact that these weird the bad weird 2 and 3 movies getting kind of majorly weaved in is kind of one of its strengths ultimately, because it's just so goofy. It's hard to not think it peaked with 5 and 6, which are both like the most fun movies, the easiest to enjoy. But who knows? I mean, again, it was dealt this horrible real life tragedies with 7 that, of course it was going to affect everything. I'm curious with 9 and 10 with them bringing back Justin Lin. It
just feels like over the past couple movies, it's strained more and more to include cars.
Yeah.
In their missions, when like infiltration missions that involve a lot of cars and driving, and
right.
Where they're all in cars.
That's why space cars.
Yes, I can't wait for space cars.
I can't wait for the space race wars. Yep. It'll be good. Well, thank you for going on this journey with us, folks. Maybe in 2 weeks, let's talk about Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, we can't do it
because Hobbs Shaw opens next week. So yeah, in 2 weeks we'll talk about it.
And that's a promise. And it'll probably, yeah, I guess it'll fall right in line with our SummerSlam preview if I'm looking at the weeks here. So yeah, because SummerSlam will follow that on the Sunday. SummerSlam's on the 11th, I believe. Anyway, but yeah, thank you everyone. Everything is possible, but nothing is real. Cut to Tormund and Shakma.
Shakma.
I'll start off by saying that.
Oh yeah, so I guess full spoilers, guys, because this is a movie that's pretty new in theaters.
Yeah.
So you might want to opt out if you haven't seen Hobbs and Shaw yet,
or if you just want to, some people just
experience it through our voices.
Yeah. I feel like I brought it up last week because I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse, and you went to the Alamo Drafthouse grand opening in downtown LA last night. We can talk
I stepped into Alamo Drafthouse in Los Angeles last night, Matt.
We can talk about that next week if you want to. If we're low on time, you want to talk about all the festivities and festooneries of the Alamo Drafthouse grand opening in Los Angeles. But the pre-show for Hobbs and Shaw had a who are Hobbs and Shaw, like a quick little 4-minute catch up on who these characters are. They didn't run through all the Fast and Furious movies, but they did do the Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs coming in 5, Shaw coming in 7.
Yeah, I mean they showed him at the very end of 6, but then 7.
Yeah. And the fact that the running commentary was something that actually I've been saying on the podcast for the past several weeks, which is. They really, literally, the person narrating this little video segment couldn't let go of the fact that Deckard Shaw killed Han, and right. And it even ended with a sweet memorial to Han, sweet summer soul. What a fragile summer child Han was. All he wanted to do was love on Gal Gadot and retire. That was another thing that when Trish Stratus Charlotte Flair's running down Trish Stratus, it's like you became a mom and got a minivan. I'm like, guess who else did that? Brian O'Connor. Okay? And if it was good enough for Brian and Mia to retire from the life and start a family, Dominic Toretto would not have taken well to Charlotte Flair's rhetoric and her anti-family stance about, just, to him, family's everything. So he would totally understand Trish Stratus's decision to leave the scene, leave the business, and focus on being a parent.
It's too bad Vin and Dwayne hate each other, and there's this huge rift because in an alternate universe, they could do a lot of on-air Raw SmackDown shenanigans with Fast and Furious cast members.
The Shaw family, which has become a big part of the franchise.
The Shaw dynasty, yeah.
It's a Shaw, yeah. It's more of a regime. I think that now with the inclusion of what was Vanessa Kirby's character's name?
Hattie, yeah, it's
Hattie Shaw. So
Hattie.
The first thing I'll bring up is just the very humorous aspect of the fact that there's a 20-year age difference between Jason Statham and Vanessa Kirby.
I think 22, but yeah, about 20 years.
Yeah, I was just rounding to the decade, Eric. But so they couldn't have been children at the same time pulling heists and pranks and naming them after famous British musicians. They couldn't. So you really do have to believe that, look, Jason Statham looks great. So if you just want to believe that he's younger than me,
right,
then go for it. Because she's early 30s. So yeah, I mean, even if you're giving him a few years on her, he is the older sibling of both her and Owen, right?
Yeah,
he's the eldest. So yeah, if he's 36 or 7...
This movie, by the way, the movie, by the way, also had some odd Owen erasure. Now, his name is said once, but his name is said...
I didn't know if he was mentioned at all,
yes, but it's clearly ADR'd, so clearly when they were in post, they were like, you know what, we never mentioned Owen, we should probably... Because Helen Mirren is like, you and Haiti and Owen, but it's not on her is when they're talking in prison. So I was like, oh, they must have realized they need to at least acknowledge the existence of the other sibling.
I think it's weird that they had to add that, given how inclusive and how the continuity in this franchise has pretty much been on point. Like the fact that
I agree. There's a lot of weird things with this movie and the continuity of the others that is. To me, it seems like they made a almost discernible decision because this is a spinoff, but we want to have some different tonal things in it. Because even the fact that, and I'll get to it in a minute, that I actually very much enjoyed this movie. But continuity-wise, it's a very strange. And Chris Morgan wrote this movie, so
that's what I mean. I don't know why he's not somebody who would leave Owen out.
No, Owen's left out, and then they did throw in this mention of him, but he's not in any of the flashbacks. But also, even the fact that the way Fate of the Furious ended, it's like Hobbs and Shaw were on pretty good terms. Throughout that movie, it was like they hated each other, but then Hobbs was looking up his military record. Oh, you were this respected guy, and then seemed to come to some respect. And so it was just funny that where they meet up in this movie, it's as if they went from the prison to this.
They didn't go through the entire submarine battle.
Right.
The airplane battle they did have to sort of take a few steps back and like refuel their animosity for each other in this movie. And they didn't want to kick each other's ass, at least.
Yes.
Like they didn't want to physically beat the other person to a pulp when they saw them. They just still hated each other.
Right.
The one thing this movie did was, as they've slowly now glossed over the fact that Deckard Shaw straight up murdered Sweet Baby Han Solo.
Yes.
They have now in this movie fully redeemed him because he was framed for the horrible things he did by Etienne. He never even went bad. I guess just the act of being framed and being ostracized and made an outcast turned him into a bad murderer.
Right.
Because he's like, I've done bad things. He's still
I
admits
have
to
to
that.
make amends. That's their one nod is like, I did bad. I have to make amends for bad things. But yeah, it's funny that it's like, it's weird because it's like, on one hand, we deal with a lot of fiction. A lot of our favorite TV shows have done horrible murderers become part of the group.
Oh, there's the easiest thing to redeem when it comes to broken trash boys is murder. Whether it's Bucky Barnes being a Winter Soldier, whether it's Kylo Ren, whether it's Spike on Buffy, our non-empathizing, horrible, unkind society will easily forgive mass murder.
Right.
Especially if someone's quote unquote brainwashed or a vampire or, just sad about, because I don't know, Kylo Ren, I don't know. I guess sad that his uncle tried to kill him or something, but he's just generally grumpy anyway. But yeah, we can easily forgive murder unless it's Han. For me personally, that's my line in the sand.
No, and a lot of people won't forgive the Han thing, even though it is funny because in the grand scheme of things, it's like he killed Han, who was a criminal, but we liked him. But it's like he also murdered all of those police in that hospital and possibly other people in that hospital who just happened to be.
I'm just saying we came in after the fact. We didn't see the full picture there, Eric. It was clearly he was clearly framed for that too. They were dead when he arrived.
So that's just the funny thing with Deckard Shaw is they're not just forgiving him and redeeming him, they're also saying, you know what, he wasn't even that bad to begin with.
It wasn't a full redemption. It was, how much did we care when Angel as Angelus killed Miss Calendar? A lot of the moment, but guess what? He got his own spinoff, so it's all good.
Right. But yeah, so that's, it is funny because it's being brought up a lot, of course, and I do actually think to the point that in this series, they will dive back into it. It's just funny that they were for 2 movies in a row now, because Fate did it too. It's you know what? Deckard Shaw, he's an okay guy.
He's not just an okay guy. He's a good guy.
He's a good guy.
He's great. Deckard Shaw, what a great guy.
That's right.
Andrew writes in, longtime fan of from back at your IGN days. I love the podcast, and you guys actually got me started listening to podcasts. So keep up the great work. Thank you. Last week, you talked about how the Fast and Furious franchise had morphed into the A-Team film franchise, what it wanted to be. And I couldn't believe that in Hobbs and Shaw, they even went so far as to have an entire act dedicated to outnumbered and outgunned good guys prepping traps and, going low-tech to defeat the bad guys, which, very A-Team, right?
Yes. Yes. I know. I like that analogy a lot, Matt, when you made it. I think it's very apropos. And so Hobbs and Shaw, all the continuity stuff aside, which is notable, especially because this is a series, as we've talked about in the past few weeks, became very intricate with this continuity and was sort of strengthened by the fact that it would do this crazy callbacks. It is odd that it's the Deckard Shaw of it all. But this movie is bonkers. And I think it's more fun than Fate of the Furious, which also went crazy with the action, but just tonally didn't quite work. Where this one, David Leitch directing, he did Deadpool 2 and First John Wick and Atomic Blonde. It knows exactly what it is.
The Ryan Reynolds and Rob Delaney cameos from Deadpool 2. And I'm sure The Rock was the one to thank for Kevin Hart showing up. So there was some fun moments throughout that movie. I guess because the Shaw family has become such a big thing, it's interesting to revisit 6, where Owen was the anti-Dom Toretto. He was family sucks. And so are we supposed to put that all on Cypher? Was she the one who had like put in Owen's head? Like, is Owen always been the family sucks guy and everyone else is super tight knit and that's why they left him out of this movie? I mean, he did come back at the end of 7 to help out. I'm just saying, did Cypher was one of her corrupting mechanisms to like make Owen anti-family?
Right.
Because it seems like they're a really tight family.
I think. I think
unless you're being framed by the British Secret Service, or by Etienne.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't in Furious 7? Isn't that where Dom says, "I don't got friends, I got family"? Oh no, that was earlier.
No, that was earlier than that.
Yeah, but it's Furious 7 when Dom when Shaw is still a full villain, that he has the thing about family, and Shaw says, "Well, I don't have family, I've got friends." Like that he has like people who are going to help him.
Well, he it's clear. Dame Helen Mirren says at the beginning of Hobbs and Shaw, it's like, you all used to be so close, right?
Right.
A long time ago, we used to be friends.
But then I think it was funny because in Hobbs and Shaw, when they're on the airplane, Hobbs says, "Well, people like me, they don't like you," to Shaw, that he has no friends. I was like, I thought he did have friends. He just doesn't have family, except for the actual family that we've been meeting throughout all these
One
movies.
thing's clear. They need to sort out this whole friends and family bullshit because it is way confusing.
Their friends and family plan is also very convoluted.
Yeah, they get the bill every month. They're like, whoa.
Their cell phone.
Our data is maxed out.
Can we also, did you see Michelle Rodriguez's bizarre tweet this week?
No, I do not follow her on the Twitter device.
I don't either. I mean, but it was just people were retweeting it because it was interesting. It just, one day someone will do an amazing book or documentary about the behind the scenes drama on the beloved Fast and Furious movies. Just because Chris Morgan doing press for Hobbs and Shaw, being asked a lot about Justice for Han, said, it's coming. We haven't forgotten. We purposely put that, I did bad things, I need to make amends line in there. It's setting up more, although while he was still floating, the Shaw was never a terrible guy, but, was saying that there will be more with that and him having.
I like that the Fast and Furious franchise has, and I feel like the only way out of this is for them to continue to Saw franchise these movies with retconning.
Yes,
where it's like Deckard Shaw drops the grenade at Han's car, but as he walks away, Han actually stopped that grenade from blowing up. But then someone else comes in and kills so technically Deckard Shaw tried to kill Han, but wasn't the one behind it and didn't ultimately wind up killing Han. It was some other world's greatest mercenary stepped in that we haven't heard about that will just be introduced. Who's the person behind Cypher? I don't know. But
they've already done. We talked about the Braga Shaw Cypher villain behind the villain behind the villain.
Yeah, the villain behind Cypher is going to be the person who actually killed Han, and it's Gal Gadot, and she's alive because no one checked on her. No one checked on Giselle. She's like, this is for not coming back and checking on me on the runway.
All I had was a broken ankle.
Yeah, I'm pretty durable.
Pretty durable. So yeah, Michelle Rodriguez. So after Chris Morgan said about, there's long-term plans. Yeah, we're going to deal with more about that and Shaw and Han. She did a tweet retweeting that story, but saying, "I've been around since the beginning, way before Chris Morgan came along, and he has absolutely nothing to do with this narrative, with where this narrative is or where it's going, FYI."
Wow.
Which was a bizarre thing to say about that he has nothing to do with it when he's written every movie since 3. I know he didn't write Fast 9 next year, but he's written everything since 3, including the introduction and death of the Han character. I know the connection to Better Luck Tomorrow, but the actual Han Fast and Furious character, he's been the only writer to deal with this character. So that was interesting, and more behind-the-scenes strange drama on this series.
Oh, what if Sean has a twin brother named Ron? And he's the one who killed. He's a high-tech mercenary, and he killed Han. So Sean,
people have talked about clones for sure.
Yeah. So Sean's Ron killed Han, and now Ron can come in as a villain that I can truly hate because he's awful. Because Lucas Black can only in this franchise play awful.
Now, see, that's right, Sean. I was confusing Sean and Shaw, but you knew exactly what you were saying.
Oh, I know who I hate. Yeah.
I will say it is funny because when I watched the trailers for Hobbs and Shaw, and the more they revealed about Idris Elba's character, it's like, oh wow, they're bringing in like a straight up supervillain, and he's like a cyborg super soldier. And I did think, well, this opens the door for Cyborg Han, right? This could bring back Cyborg Han. And then
I want them to go full Alita Battle Angel with it, and like it's just his head. Like, and his whole body is Silver Samurai'd out, right?
Or he's like Arnim Zola on a computer screen. But then I'm watching Hobbs Shaw, the actual movie, and then they reveal that Brixton has a boss. He's not the head of it all, and he has a secret computer voice boss with a giant cool room where his digital speaking voice.
Yeah, he almost even had like the Emperor. Empire Strikes Back introduction, because Brixton was getting cybernetically enhanced at that very moment.
That's right.
Well, when he's talking to him. Now, for a little bit, the altered voice, there were moments when it sounded like Ryan Reynolds, and I was like, oh, are they making Locke the guy? Because the whole thing was, whoever this dude is has a beef with Hobbs, and we don't know that much about Hobbs' story outside of the villains of the Fast and Furious gang. So,
right, and that was my thing, was like, for a split second, I was like, oh, I'm right, it will be Cyborg Han, he's the one behind Brixton, but then they said this guy has a history with Hobbs.
That's what I mean,
Shaw.
and so I don't understand. So it has to be his father.
Or I say guy, it could be a woman.
It has to be his father, right?
Probably his father, because that's a big, like, why would you introduce the criminal father and not say exactly, he would send him to jail, but what happened next? Ryan Reynolds, that seemed like another possibility. Like, huge star, came in, has a history with Hobbs. He seems like a goofy guy, but you could reveal otherwise. But then the post-credit scenes seem to just reinforce
that he was goofy. Yeah. So that's why I thought the post-credit scene, and like I mentioned last week, I missed the final one. But when I saw him there, again, after he murdered all those people, showing that he's very silly, but he's also a sinister stabber, right? Like, so... Yeah. I was like, oh, he's murdered all these people. This is the reveal of him as the bad guy, and it wasn't. He was just still goofy. So
it was weird because there's 3 post-credit sequences, but they're all just jokey. Like, it's funny because Marvel will do kind of a mix where like one might be goofy, but one might be a big like setup, and they didn't do that here, which makes me feel, again, especially because clearly they just shot the Ryan Reynolds one. He doesn't have the full beard he has earlier in the movie, and he's making references to the Game of Thrones finale, like direct references. So they clearly, that was like a recent shoot on that. So I wonder if once upon a time they had a full villain reveal, whether it be Ryan Reynolds, Han, a Cypher, or someone else completely, but that changed, and they decided not to do that yet, or maybe they just decided they didn't want it to be the person they originally decided it was going to be, hence what we got instead.
I was misled. I got fooled by the advertising. I just figured Roman Reigns would have a line or two.
Me too.
In the movie, he didn't. He didn't speak at all, and he was very much in the background most of the time, unless he was doing the spear or the Samoan drop. By the way, in Samoa, it's just called a drop.
Yeah, I see what you did there. It was interesting because if you didn't know who he was going in, you wouldn't think anything about him except one of the other like Hobbs family members. Except he gets like a couple of big hero shots next to The Rock during their big fight.
Oh, and he's on one of the trucks. He's not driving a truck at the end, but he gets to throw the little hooks off the back of the truck. Yeah.
But the bigger moment to me is just like him and The Rock next to each other, both kind of doing war cries. And it's like for a split second, I can only imagine maybe someone might wonder like why he gets this big thing at that moment. But yeah, it is funny that he never speaks.
But it's like every big shot of him is in the trailer for him.
Yeah.
So that's it. There's nothing much more to him because Cliff Curtis got the brother role. Chris Curtis, not Samoan, but Cliff. I don't know if we talked about Cliff Curtis, but Cliff Curtis being, I believe, is Maori. But
yes.
The fact that because of basically he's played every ethnicity, like he's like the Mexican gangbanger, or he's so he's done it all.
He's done it all.
I was just happy that in Fear the Walking Dead he got to be Maori. Like they made there was an episode where he talked about his roots and stuff like that. So he wasn't like just because it was an LA story, he wasn't Mexican.
Right, which is what I did assume going in. He is in the Avatar sequels. We'll see if he is blue or not. I can't remember if we know if he's.
You know what would suck is if he was, because the trope of that movie is that anyone who was ethnic was a Navi. What are they called?
Navi, except for Michelle Rodriguez, actually. Fast and Furious' own Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, but what I mean is all Navi were black or other, right?
The actors playing them
exactly.
Were
so
for the most part.
There wasn't like a Navi character who the actor was Caucasian. So it was a weird thing about that movie, on top of several other weird things about that movie.
Right.
The main weird thing about that movie is just how goddamn big it was in retrospect. Like, looking back now with Endgame's chase for the title.
Yeah.
It's just like, what a bizarre, like, just a sweet spot that movie hit with the 3D phenomenon and how much it made just being a singular movie with no source material and no, like, build, from other movies.
I have unfortunate
movie.
news for you, by the way. According to Wikipedia, Cliff Curtis is playing Tanawari, the leader of the Reef People clan.
I get it. I know he is. We know he's not just coming in as like a human scientist.
Although it looks like Kate Winslet is playing a Navi.
Okay, that is something. That's something.
Okay, so at least they're mixing it up a little bit there.
Fucking.
It is funny, by the way, to think about Michelle Rodriguez and how she has been in $3 billion movies through Fast 7 and 8 and Avatar.
Oh, okay. Movies, not franchises. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what's the third? Yeah.
Resident Evil is a hit franchise, but not obviously on that level.
I mean, Girl Fight didn't make $1.5 billion.
But that's my point, is like Girl Fight.
I'm just saying that was her breakout role, right?
Done well she's done well. Yeah. That was her breakout role.
Maybe she's right about Chris Morgan. I don't know. She seems to know what she's doing, is what I'm saying.
That's right. It's just worked out for her. Any other Hobbs Shaw thoughts? I really enjoyed, Brixton and his motorcycle that could like transform and go under trucks.
Yeah.
They even had like Transformers sound effects.
Yeah. It was like
a helicopter too. It's like
that's the noise I make when I'm doing techno music.
Right. It's funny because there was a lot of trailers for Hobbs and Shaw, and they did show too much. But I will say it was still pretty fun. Like watching the movie, it's just the embracing of the insanity is pretty funny in that movie, and just how it's like all these human beings like sort of. I know Brixton's supposed to be like a cyborg, but everyone else is like in theory a human, but jumping out of skyscraper windows, like when Hobbs. Yeah, leaps out of that window and like uses like human bodies as cushions to jump down.
Yeah, it was a fun movie. There was a part of me that was like, it wasn't even as crazy as I thought it would be ultimately, but it was still a fun on a bun. I liked it a lot. And
Vanessa Kirby, liked her a lot. It was cool. It was funny because when I interviewed David Leitch, he mentioned how, because I mentioned how, she was in Mission Impossible Fallout.
I think that's the only thing I've seen her in, maybe Fallout?
Yeah, it was the only thing I've seen her in. She's done other British stuff. But she doesn't really have action. She has a tiny bit of action when she and Ethan are trying to get away in the club. But I had heard there was a great podcast that Christian McQuarrie did about Fallout and about all the changes and things that movie went through. And originally there was supposed to be a huge fight between Ilsa and the Widow, Vanessa Kirby's character. Like, the Widow was supposed to be like kind of present for the whole final fight sequence, and Ilsa and the Widow would have had this giant fight. And that basically he realized it was too much. It was too much to put the Widow even in that scenario, and all these reasons had changed. But it was funny because David Leitch said that when he was starting work on this movie, Vanessa Kirby, it turns out, had done so much fight training for Fallout that she didn't use. So she's like, "You're not gonna like have me do all this training and then actually cut my fights." Like, no, this will be in. And so I thought it was a very cool spotlight for her in this movie.
Well, then, keeping her in mind, and my closing thought is that if we're really looking at the ridiculousness of this movie and like looking back at something like Tango and Cash, which I believe I forced you to watch at some point.
You got me the DVD as a birthday present, so I had to watch it.
Yeah, you
I
had
just
to.
Felt like shitty if you got me the present that I was like threw it in the trash.
You had an obligation to Tango and Cash. I feel
right.
Well, they even went so far as to give us the Tango and Cash storyline of the rock falling for the sister of his rival, of his frenemy, Deckard Shaw, which and it's even like the straight-laced one, even the roles were the same. Like the rough and tumble one and the straight-laced one, if we're looking at where they made Stallone the straight-laced one in Tango and Cash, and it was his sister played by Terry Hatcher, and then Kurt Russell's like the ruffian who falls for her, and the straight-laced one does not take too kindly to eyes being made at his sister. They didn't do the hiding out by dressing in drag thing, but they do that anymore. I'm just saying, you save stuff for the sequel, right?
I will say
for Hobbs and Shaw and Shaw.
Patting myself and my friends on our back from high school, we did have a "Hey, your sister's pretty hot" line in Tough Cops when we made our action buddy cop action parody in high school with a straight-laced and a wild card cop working together.
You need to send me the YouTube of Tough Cops so I can use the clips for the beginning and end of the podcast.
One day I shall.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for going on this miraculous journey with us.
Amazing journey. Yes.
Everything is possible, but nothing is real. Justice for Han and Shakma.
Justice for Han and Shakma.
Shakma!